Hey, little girl, is your daddy home? Did he go and leave you all alone? I got a bad desire.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another episode of Live in 5, baby. Episode number 47 coming across your chin. Azo, how we doing, my friend? It is the People's episode. And before we get to that, and we had Kenny Agostino popping on, a Yale graduate and scholar who is going into his 11th year in the German league, but he's an 11-year pro, great friend of the show, guy that played at Yale, actually beat me out my freshman year. They ended up winning it. I think Yale that year was like 500. Somehow they just caught fire straight.
Crazy.
Just struck lightning in a bottle. They played that 1-3-1, and they just bored teams to death. I remember we lost that game in Grand Rapids in the regional final to them. They came from behind on us. No Diddy on that, but they came from behind. They beat us. I think we were up 1-0 going into the third. They ended up winning 3-1 with an empty netter. Ego, their best player. So that one still stings because that team, Azo, I think you were in Ann Arbor that year.
Yep.
You were probably watching that team. You're thinking, wow, we got a guy like Danny Cristo who scored 26 goals. If he wouldn't have lost his foot, he probably would have been the Hobie Baker if he didn't go full Mr. Deeds. Corbin Knight, longtime pro, played a good amount in the NHL. Carter Rowney, Andrew McWilliam, Rocco Grimaldi. Like, we had a good team. Derek Forbert. We had
you know what
really
killed you
team.
guys? No, nothing against Yale, Jordo, but you know what killed you guys? Everyone was expecting nodak versus the Gophers in the regional final.
I know.
And the Gophers lose. You guys had to have been fucking, let's go. Let's go.
Because we were playing Holy Cross.
Yeah.
We were the 1 seed. We go in there, we dust up Holy Cross. But the game before us was the game that was going to decide who we ultimately played in that regional final. And that game was Yale versus Minnesota. Yale beats them in overtime. And we're sitting there watching that game because, as you know, at a regional game, you're just waiting for that clock to tick. And whoever wins, especially when it goes to OT, you still have like 45 minutes to an hour after that game. So you couldn't basically watch that whole game from like the Zamboni entrance. And then once that game ends, you go get dressed and you're like, okay, fuck, well, if we win this one, this is who we're playing. And that's exactly what happened. Another thing that killed us, Oz, if we're really thinking going down memory lane, is that Grand Rapids regional fucking sucked. I mean, it was dressed like a seat night in there, dude. We had like 400 fans at that game. That was the worst regional crowd I've ever seen. And you've seen dressed like a seat night from those crowds in Albany, some of those other spots like Worcester, Worcester, Massachusetts, and some of these other spots are just terrible. Like, you needed the regionals in good spots. I remember when we chatted with David Carr, like, just put these regionals at campus, on campus sites, right?
Yeah, they got to figure out a way to do it. I know it's tough logistically because you do not know who's going to be the 1 seed until later in the season. And these arenas got to plan, their weekends. They got concerts going on and other things. So it's a little bit of a logistical issue, but they got to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, 100%. And Azo, this is episode number 47. Again, the People's episode. People submitted questions all week. They were hitting up Azo, myself. They were hitting up the account. They were kind of coming all over the place in terms of some questions. So we'll get to 10 odd questions later in the show. But as we always do, we plug our YouTube page over here. It is at Live in 5 2024. Please go over to YouTube, like that, subscribe to that. Our subscriptions, Azo, they're going up by the day, up by the hour. I think we're at over 700 now. So we're trying to get to 1,000. We're trying to pump those numbers up. Again, go like that, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. And then please go comment on our videos, send them to other people. And that's how we really drive this thing up. So go to YouTube at Live in 5 2024. All of our shorts in terms of our Instagram reels, stuff we post on X, that is all over there on our YouTube page, as well as all the interviews from episode 1 to now 47, going to be with Mr. Kenny Agostino. Also, we're always brought to you by Butter Golf and Mini Movers. Mini Movers is the official moving company of Live in 5. I always say it. I can't stress it enough. If you need your shit packed, you know somebody that needs their shit packed, talk to the captain today. Get a free quote. Go over to minimovers.com. Go on to their socials. The Mini Movers. That is on Instagram. That is on X. Again, now we have the Grand Forks chain buzzing. So if you're in Western, Eastern North Dakota, give the boys a quote. Give them a chat. Whatever it is, give them a holler. They'll hook you up. As always, brought to you by Butter Golf. Go over to butter.golf for all your lifestyle golf needs. Again, it's in the middle of the summer right now. We got some juicy hats we're rolling out. Again, we're doing some stuff coming up that we're excited about. So go over to butter.golf. for all your golf and lifestyle needs. Azo, lastly, with our ad read from Gladiator Therapeutics. We had Dr. George come on a couple pods ago and chat about Gladiator. Are you tired of dealing with chronic aches and pains or neurological conditions? Gladiator Therapeutics offers a revolutionary solution using quantum physics to improve your health. Our devices use patented technology to emit far infrared light, stimulating cellular processes without heat. This can reduce inflammation, speed up healing, and enhance mobility. Clinical trials show impressive results, including a 400% increase in survivability in stem cells, accelerated wound healing up to 68% faster, and significant improvements in Parkinson's disease models. Wearable 24/7 without power, our devices can be a game changer. Visit www.gladiatortherapeutics.com/contact_DRGM to learn more and start your journey to better health today. Also, like we said at the top of the key, we got Kenny Agostino coming on. He just recently signed back in the German league. He was playing with a good friend of the show, Brennan O'Donnell, a.k.a. Showdonnell, in Dusseldorf last year after he did 2 years in the Continental Hockey League. So he recently signed with Ingolstadt. It's a team in the Bavarian division, I believe, of that league. So he'll be rocking out with his cock out over at Oktoberfest. Wrench out, beers full. He's excited. I think he leaves at the end of the month. Azo, let's get to it. Let's get to the weekend recap. We were both in Grand Forks this past weekend. Fella, that place took me for everything I was worth in terms of just my soul, not my bank account, because you can get a triple drink there for about $4.50. But man, sometimes you just think you're going to take it easy on a Friday night before a Saturday wedding, and that night actually ends up being the drunkest you have been in about 3 months. Like the whole week leading up to it, I'm like, I kind of want to ice Friday night.
Yeah.
Kind of mad I'm getting in at 5 p.m. I ended up getting delayed until about 10 p.m., and there's nothing scarier than a 10 p.m. start on the piss, because you know once you get going around your buddies that you're probably going to be out till about 5 or 6 in the morning. That's just science, right? Like you can't just booze for 3 or 4 hours. Like I'm having way too much fun. We ended up getting kicked out of Bonzers that night. I think you were able to slide home because you had some wedding festivities in terms of the wedding party. You were going at it all day. I got the late start, so I was playing catch up without mustard. Also, we got so banged up that we ended up just staying after Bonzers kicked us out. They've been closed for like an hour and a half. We get out of there at like 3:45 in the morning. What do? We buy off sale from Bonzers and take it to the parking lot and booze in the parking lot like we're a bunch of high school seniors. And we stayed there on the curb hammering Busch Light pounders till like 5:30 in the morning. And then finally we all looked at each other like, can we just go to bed, man? So my point being is that town, number one, is just the city that rhymes with fun. And number two, man, everyone just gets so drunk. It's unbelievable.
So you just can't not. And yeah, that Friday was so funny, Jordan. I wanted to kind of share this because I don't know if it's just me, if I'm a psycho, but I think most guys have been in this position. Friday we got to Bonzers. It was only us there, right? It was like 7 guys there or whatever. There weren't many people in there when we got there. So I was at a point, I had been kind of drinking all day. I got to a point where I was like, you know what? Like, I'm pretty tuned up right now. I don't really need my buddies to have a good time. I'm just having a good time being drunk. So I just walked out the front door and I just started walking up and down the roads. I was like, fuck, I'm going to walk by Blacks, just see what's going on and show Blacks. So I start walking down that road by myself. Like I'm just people watching. I actually planned not to go in there. I was just going to take a right and then go walk home actually. And I'm walking down the road and all of a sudden I just run into a guy, Matt Harder, just walking, him and Brittany, his wife, walking just by themselves. And I'm like, the fuck are you guys doing? We're all at Bonzers. He's like, yeah, we're heading there right now. So I had a U-turn and go back to Bonzers with them. And then I think Hardsey got in a little wrestling match with our buddy Tony T. And I think they just wrestled for like 3 minutes. And then Hardsey just got up and said, see you later, boys. We'll see you tomorrow. And he headed off. That was a hilarious night.
Well, he came in just blowing 7 different kinds of smoke in terms of the steam coming out of his back. I mean, Hardsey, as you know, we can go. Well, all the boys can go. But he comes in there. He sees an ex-fella, an ex, teammate, or if you will, I believe him and Terge came up through the Eastern League together. Tony Tergeron, obviously, shout out to Terge, is an absolute nail gun. Good chin, throws both ways, 6'4", 250. I mean, he's built like a double wide, and his paws are like frozen turkeys. So he's one of the tougher guys in his era of pro hockey that people probably don't realize. A Grand Forks native, and just an all-world type of dude, right? A guy you want on your side, especially if you're showing up to a gunfight with a knife. He'll probably take care of that. You don't even need anything other than his knuckles. So they see each other. They spent time. Hards was a trainer there. He was the athletic trainer and the medical trainer with the Manchester Monarchs back in the East Coast Hockey League. Terge happened to be a player on that team. I don't think they've seen each other for, maybe 5, 6, 7 years, or kind of run into each other maybe once a summer, whatever it is. They don't see each other a lot. And all of a sudden, they start talking a little bit. And I think Hards, the way he told the story from what he remembers was like, hey, I bet you kind of miss like wrestling guys. He's like, yeah, give me one, Terge. So they just start going in the middle of the bar. And, it was a quick dust up. And actually, Hards, for his size, is a very good wrestler. And, Tony, he's probably given up 5 or 6 inches to Tony and probably about 100 pounds, if we're calling a spade a spade. Like, so those guys have a little tussle up. They kind of get separated. They're just messing around. They kind of get up off the wood floor. They look around like, holy shit, do we actually really do that? Hard kind of just gives it the old sayonara out the front door. He leaves with his beautiful wife, Brittany, and that was their night. So that was so funny to see because I got like a what's up with Hards in, and then all of a sudden he was right into the ring, and then all of a sudden he's out of the door. So that was pretty funny, man. That
was all time. I love it. And it's always it's scary going back to Grand Forks. Regardless if it's for a wedding. Now, you're in for one with a wedding, but it's always scary going up there because there's so many guys you can enjoy a pint with. You just can't get away from it. I already miss it, but I'm also happy that I won't be back there for a weekend like that anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, you know what you're signing up for, and it's good to see old friends. Obviously, we just saw a bunch of those guys on the golf trip, and we're going to see them again in a couple of weeks at a Shane Gertsch's wedding. But it's just crazy to think us assholes were all sitting in one locker room under one roof at one point, hanging out every day. And actually, Ozzo, that new hotel is pretty bougie for Grand Forks. I mean, that Olive Inn or Olive and Ivy Inn, whatever the fuck it is, like
Olive Inn. They did a good job. They did a good job. I hope it works. I hope the people of Forks or the visitors of Forks can get out their wallets because I know it's a little more expensive than your local American. But yeah, I enjoyed that place. Great wedding venue too. Great spot.
It was a great wedding venue up the top there, kind of like the penthouse feel, overlooking the old red and the scenic downtown of Grand Forks. But yeah, scouting report was good. Obviously, I'm a Staybridge guy when I go back there because that is where Michael Schmaltz, a.k.a. the Fuzz, and my grandpa and uncles have the hotel. But the word was the rooms were nice. The sheets were good. Stiff headboard. Everything you need at the Olive and Ann Inn. That was the scouting report was good. That coffee shop was cool in there. So, yeah, downtown Grand Forks is kind of sneaky buzzing now, especially with Harry's, too. I like sitting at that bar there, Ozzo. That's a good spot right in town. Get a nice steak, glass of red. But yeah, in all seriousness, it was cool to see Johnny, Mr. Simonson, a golf trip. Well, a golf trip, member get married, shut the door. We fucking sweated out in that wedding venue, though, that old church, man. Holy fuck.
I was professional in there, but yeah, it was hot. I mean, we had a fan on us up front, but yeah, I do want to shout out John. His family did an unbelievable job. He's got 3 brothers. They're all legends. Dane, Morgan, Alex. Shout out to them. And obviously Parnes. Parnes always brings it too. So those guys, and then Dusky, they all brought it, and it's just awesome spending time with those guys.
Yeah, I mean they did really bring it in. The Brad Pitters, the old David Backus sweat. It was going. I actually got so drunk on Saturday night the wedding night that I had to remove myself from the action at about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I'm not saying I'm a fucking heavyweight over here, but usually I can hold it. And at that point, I don't know what happened. I don't know what the fuck they put in that prime rib. They soaked it in some vodka or Ron Diaz or whatever it was, or whiskey bourbon. I was fucked up, and I had to politely get out of there because I was chewing on my own tongue. But one of the things the whole weekend I'm going to take away was sitting at Bonzer's before the reception, before the ceremony. And the line of the weekend, Ozzo, was Dane Jackson. We always talk about Jax on the pod. And what he said was just all time. And we're guys that know witty one-liners. I'm not saying we know the whole book or the encyclopedia, but we've been in the locker room enough. And he was talking about a player. He was describing his game. And, he was just telling him, like, hey, like, you're in and out of the lineup. I don't know, he kind of called Jackson. He's like, what should I do? How do I stay in the lineup? How do I make an impression with my coach? He's like, well, like sometimes you might just have to grab a guy and do something you're uncomfortable with. I'm not telling you to fight, but maybe that'll gain a little bit more ice time or keep you in a lineup or show a coach you have a different side of your game that maybe he didn't think you had that element. So he tells this guy to, kind of go mix it up or maybe play a little bit of an uncomfortable game for himself. So he ends up getting in a tussle. A little smaller guy, but does pretty well against a bigger fella. So he ends up, staying in the lineup 2 or 3 nights, and then all of a sudden he doesn't get taken out the rest of the year. I think he ended up having another dust up.
Nails.
And you know what? It kind of worked. So what Jax told the kid after the season, he's like, what'd I tell you? Sometimes you got to do something you're not comfortable with. I always say, fuck, fight, or hold the light. It's just like fuck, fight, or hold the light. So what he meant was either you fuck, or you score, you fight, or you hold the light. You're the goal judge. So you got to do one of the 3. And I never heard that line before. Fuck, fight, or hold the light. I was dying laughing when he said that. He just said it so casually too. That was the best line of the weekend.
It's great advice too, because it's true. Every coach, doesn't matter where, every coach, if you are having a little slump, you just go get in a fight. He's going to give you more ice time. Now, you best not get beat up in that fight pretty bad to where it's embarrassing. Then you're getting less ice time, but just hold your own seatbelt, throw a couple, automatic ice time. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, chew on a few, like I always say, get a little red man in the cheek and stiffen up the upper lip, chew on one, maybe take him down to the ice, and all of a sudden you got not only instant respect from your teammates, but your coaches are saying, wow, this fucking guy wants to stay in the lineup. So that was great advice. Fuck, fight, or hold the light. I was dying laughing when Jack said that. Ozzo, this past 2 days, we're recording here on Wednesday, I was on the bag, 93.1 special like I always do. Nikki, my brother, was playing in the USGA Wisconsin Amateur. So you have to qualify for this event. The winner of this event actually gets a free bid into the US Amateur. So we went over to Waukesha, Wisconsin, and played the course 2 days. First day, not perfect. I think it was probably the worst I ever seen Nikki play. Honestly, he was kind of slashing it all over the yard with his driver. He had to get a new driver shaft because he broke the other one. So it was kind of just like flaring out on him, a little Ricky Flair, and then double chunk and chips, just doing like uncharacteristic things, missing, 2-footers. And so we had a day there where, he shot, I think it was 10 over. So to make the cut, we were probably going to have to shoot right around par. And then the following day actually was -1 through 7, and then ended up through 6, ended up bogeying 7, doubled 8, 3-putted from inside of 3 feet, and then doubled again on 9, a par 3 where he missed a 1-footer, but played pretty well in the back again. Like he got a lot of looks, like was throwing darts, ended up shooting 75. So I think the cut was at +12. We ended up being +13 or 14, but it's just so funny going to those events because you're playing with all these college golfers, all these ex-college golfers, guys that are +5, 6, 7 handicaps. I mean, Tony No Homo Romo flew right in from the chin of Lake Tahoe to play to this event. First of all, how about this? Little story on Tony. Tony gets a private bird into Waukesha, Wisconsin, right from Tahoe, Ozzo, and we're pulling up at the same time as him, and he gets out in a Toyota Highlander or a Honda Pilot Uber XL. It's like, Tony, you make 20 bananas a year, man, and you made 200. If you're taking a private bird, can't you spend a little bit more maybe on the black car or maybe a car service? Like, what are we doing here, Tony? You're pulling up in a fucking Toyota? Come on, man.
He's waiting on it. He's waiting on it on the tarmac. He's waiting for whatever his name, Johnny, to show up in his Uber. Like, come on, Tony. You got to have a car waiting for you, man.
Like, Tony had a TrackMan and another device to go on the range with. I mean, Tony had more in his backpack than that car would sell for if you tried to resell it. You know what I mean? He had like 30,000, 40,000 in this fucking Louis Vuitton duffel bag he was carrying to the range. Then this car costs. It's like, dust it off, Tony. Come on. But I guess he is just a Burlington kid at heart.
He's
Burlington,
a starter guy. Wasn't he
Skechers.
Sponsored by, was it Skechers?
Skechers,
yeah,
yep.
I mean, okay,
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he had the Skechers on, and I guess he has the yips right now. So Tony is playing really bad. Like, remember, like he used to win that Lake Tahoe tournament, Ozzo, and now he's got the yips where he's shooting, like plus 20, 25 in these events over like 2 days.
Really?
You can't figure it out. Yeah, it's crazy.
There was a time he was close to being on tour, I thought. Like,
yes. Well, he was playing web.com events. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like he was nasty. And now it's just, that's the game of golf though. That's
golf.
Crazy about it.
It's crazy. I mean, guys lose their swing. It's funny. I was saying like just last week, I shot a 79 and then I go out the next day and I think I darted like a 95. It's like,
right.
What happened? I don't even know.
I actually don't know what's going wrong with my swing right now. Like the pros even can do it. It's just crazy. Like a guy like Tony No Homo Romo can go from play a plus 4 or 5 and now he can't even break 80. It's just that's nuts. The game though. But also, like I always do in the Looper series, the Swish series, it was unfortunate we weren't able to make the cut. But did you see my bathroom attendant essentials? I had everything from the condoms.
Unreal.
You got to stay safe out there, boys. Wear the condoms. You never know if the cart girl's coming by or maybe there's water out there. There's hazards. You always need condoms if you're a looper out there. Then I had the darts, right? The Camel Turkish darts. Sometimes you need a rally dart. You'd make a double bogey, light up a fucking heater. I had the Fireball to heat up, okay? Maybe we've had a couple doubles. Maybe we don't have anything going. Now you need the Fireball to heat up or reheat. I had Pepto-Bismol in case the Fireball comes back up, acid reflex. So now I got to clog you up the other chute, right? So now I got the Pepto to clog you. Then I had a yardage book, obviously, that I ordered online, through a USGA certified website. Need a good number. Sometimes I don't trust my Bushnell gun. Sometimes I got to walk it out myself and put the yardage correctly in there. There's a few times I needed to do that. So I had the old yardage book, obviously the finder. I had the darts. I had the condoms. I had chew. Sometimes you just got to chew on one. Take your medicine, fella. You're in the trees. Just chew on it. Throw a little red man in there. We'll make 5. Maybe we'll make 4 the hard way, the old school way, 3-shotter. I had the red man. And what else did I have? I think that was maybe it. Oh, the one day we might have needed some pine tar because it was the grip. It was so goddamn hot out there. It was like 95 degrees. I'm carrying this sack all over the place. And one day it was just the wrench was slipping. So I didn't have the old pine tar. I did have some WD-40 just to loosen up. Sometimes put that on your shoulders just to stay loose, baby. Right? Feel it out or put it on the hips. It's all in the hips. So I had everything. I had the groove cleaner, right? Keep those wrenches clean. I had a Z-Pack just in case something happened out there. I had everything, Ozzo, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to get it done this year. Last year, obviously, Nicky finished. I'm talking like I'm fucking playing. He finished 3rd in the Madison City Open this year. It's just golf, brother. So, unfortunate, but man, carrying the sack, Ozzy, last little bit on this, is actually harder with the caddy bib on and the bag than playing. I'm convinced. My back is fucking in one.
Well, I mean, did you put all the essentials? I mean, hell of a spread you had there, by the way, Jordan. But have you put that on a scale? I mean, you probably added 30, 40 pounds to the bag as well.
Oh, yeah.
Those sticks ain't light. I mean,
I had all of that shoved into my caddy bib. And then we had to carry a bunch of waters. We had the Yeti in there because there are waters in there, but you add a Yeti in there. And then you add, a couple snacks. And then you have the wrenches. And then thank God Nicky's not like us where he has to carry the 24-pack of Costco nuggets. We only had, 6 or 7 nuggets in there. But we still had 3 sets of tees. I had a backup finder in case that one went down. It was just, it adds up. And especially when you're spraying it all over the yard a little bit, too, when you're going beach to beach.
Yeah.
You're going Hermosa to Laguna, over to Manhattan, up to Malibu. Like we were in the beach more than David Hasselhoff that day. Like I'd never seen Nicky hit so many bunker shots. I think he hit 13 bunker shots. So I was all over the map, and this course was actually pretty hilly too. So, bro, you should have seen me. Like us, how much we sweat. It was, dude, it was disgusting. It was over 22,000 steps with the sack on.
Oh, I mean, and if I'm Nicky, if I play at golf and it's 95 degrees out, I actually have to wear 2 rain gloves because my hands are so wet. I can't even grip the club, so I got to have a little grip there. But I wanted to ask Jordo, in these tournaments, you got the rangefinder. Are you allowed to have slope on there, or is it just a straight up distance?
You can't have slope. You have to turn your slope off, and it's kind of the honor system. And a lot of those finders now these days even will measure like the wind, So if you have a little Bob Seger against the wind, or you have the slope in there. No, you kind of just have to go with the number, walk it off, and then have like little notes. Obviously, that book really helps because it has just identified of where the heat map of the green is and which way it kind of slopes and different things like that. So you just basically go off of that and your finder. It's also so tough when you've never seen the course, though. That's what I was thinking. Like PGA guys, Azo, there's probably a reason not only why the good guys usually win, or at least like the top 40 guys, because think about the Cinderella stories. Like, they don't have the money to go fly into these majors and play these courses, 6 months out. And their caddy probably hasn't seen a ton of these courses, right? So that is actually a pretty big advantage of just being comfortable with the course. Because this place, Ozzy, was a goddamn dartboard. Like, to hit the fairway, if you missed the middle of the fairway, it was going off into the rough. Like, there was probably like a 10-yard landing zone on most of these holes. Otherwise, you're blocked off by trees. And then where they were putting these pins on the slopes, if you don't just aim for the middle of the green and take your medicine and make a 15-footer for birdie, or just tap in 2 for par, I mean, you're fucked, man. You're 3-putt. And that's like, I don't know. That's the only thing I didn't love about it, is like, I hate when you have to play defense putting the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, you're scared
you're just trying to land it somewhere near the hole. You're not even trying to make it.
No, you're not trying to make it. You're just trying to hopefully have like a little one you can kind of just scrape in, because like if you go at a putt, especially a downhill putt, that thing could actually be off the green. It's just it was a tough track, man. I mean, there was a lot of guys. One guy that Nikki knew, like, he was like a +6. I guess he was like the best golfer at Wisconsin in history of their whole program, and he even shot like over par yesterday. So it was tough sledding out there, but you know what? The boys are going to hit the simulator, maybe get a few things fixed with the wrenches, and we will be back better than ever. Azo, let's go over to our couple segments here before we get to the people's questions of this portion of the show. Kind of what we're doing in the people's episode, just, open up the phone lines. But we got to stay hot with our newest segment, What Guys Do to Get Laid. And I will start this off with one of the funnier ones. We actually had this one sent in, was guys that change their political views and maybe even go as far as going to a protest on the other side. Say they were like a radical right type of guy, but they started dating this chick, and she's got him brainwashed to the point where now he's actually going to rallies or protests on the other side. Maybe he becomes this very big pro-trans advocate, and before he was a total opposite. And you know what I mean? It's just so funny where a guy will literally change his views just to get laid. Like, this girl, he thinks it's probably the best he's ever going to get. He says, fuck it. I don't even care if the boys chirp me. I just need this girl. And the only chance I have on keeping her is if I totally change who I am, at least to the outside world.
It's so good.
Because you see it all the time. You do.
All the
time.
And like, I mean, to get into politics, if you're on the other side, you got no chance. So you do, I mean, if you want a little slice of that pie, you do have to agree with their side, and it's a pretty easy thing to do. I mean, the talking points of both sides. So it's unbelievable.
You go over to this guy's house, he's got CNN on just at all times. Like, bro, you used to watch sports. What are you doing? You used to be this big conservative.
Yeah, this chick hates him. This chick was pro-choice, so I got to put her on.
He trades in his Raptor for a Prius.
So good. Jordan, I had one. One of my favorites, and it's actually one I've done, and I wanted to share it because I do think it was pretty funny. It can lying about what music you like.
Oh, God.
It's so good because like you find out like this girl likes a certain type of music or whatever. In my case, she wanted to go to this concert, and she's like, I love this band. Like, do you know this band? Like, do you like them? And I'm like, oh yeah, like they're one of my favorites. And I, like, in my head, I'm like, they fucking suck. Like, I hate them. But anyways, it's called the band was Zed's Dead. I don't know if anyone's heard of them, but a little hardcore techno. Not my vibe, but I played it off like they're my favorite band ever. We end up going to a concert and having a terrible time the whole time, but I'm just like trying to act like I know the song. Like, let's go. Yes, good time. Like, no, not a good time. So it's hilarious acting like you like the type of music. And then after, I'm like posting a song in my story of posting one of their songs on my story and just not tagging anyone, like, hoping she DMs back like, oh yeah, we're fucking right, buddy.
The screenshot from your Spotify account of the band or the artist you just saw. Oz, you make such a good point though, is because how many white chicks middle-aged from 22 to 30 love like house music? I mean, I'm not saying I got a bullpen over here that loves house music, but it seems like there's about 90% of chicks that just love house music, and you're like trying to convert yourself to being, well, now you're that guy, you're that deep house guy, and now you're the rave guy. So now you're taking Molly, you're going to the rave, taking mushrooms, and you're looking at all these lights, and you think you're like the coolest guy ever because you have this hot chick with you, but you literally are a country guy. You actually grew up on old school rap and country. You listen to Alan Jackson, and now you're going to see Zed or Rufus DeFore. And maybe even get into the jungle of even more deeper house than that of people I don't even know. But you're at these venues with this girl and you have body paint on just because you're trying to get laid.
Oh, it's so funny. And I'm walking around this place like, what are these people fucking wearing? These EDM like these outfits they wear there. It's like, what are you doing? Are you trying to get stuffed on the dance floor here? Like, you're wearing a rope for a fucking outfit.
You literally have a fishnet on right now. Like, where are your panties?
Why? Who started this? Like, why are you doing that?
Why do you have a highlighters? Why do you have a highlighter color pink assless chaps on right now? What's going on?
Like,
what are we doing?
Why do we need to do this? Like, I don't understand it. It was hilarious. It's like good people watching, but yeah, it's just my favorite part of it is like, throwing it on the story. Like, shut up, buddy.
Yeah, just throw it on the story.
Get your music out of here, buddy. No one cares.
You're literally just trying to wheel, and you get like one slide, and it's from that girl, and then maybe her friend that went with you. Azo, one of my favorites is just planting books all around your place to try to act like you're sophisticated. You have a lot of layers to it, similar to the guy that goes to therapy, but you're reading books like The Art of War by Sun Tzu, or you're reading like an Albert Ellis self-help book. You're reading all these books, a Stephen Hawking's book, even maybe you're going that way with it, but it's all these different, maybe it's a motivational biography, and it's just like these guys that plant all these books that you've actually never read past the forward on. But when people come into your house, females, they're like, oh my God, you read that too? I'm like, yeah, actually I've reread it a couple of times now, and it gets better the more I read it.
So good. I'm gonna piggyback off that one. You get a Christian girl. She's sudden you find yourself at the mall and you get yourself a nice cross necklace and maybe memorize some Bible verses, some John 3:16 or something. That's my favorite one. Just wearing the necklace on the outside of the shirt just to show it off. Like. You're not religious, buddy. Shut up. But it's
no. Your name is literally Tommy, and you got that cross just because you thought you could maybe get away with that. Like I got the T, I got the cross. That's perfect. Also, the last one that I had just kind of written down, and I think you brought it up, which was so funny. And I just wanted to bring it up just to kind of open up and talk about it. But it's the guy usually going through maybe a midlife crisis, a breakup, who buys a motorcycle. And not only does he not really know how to drive the motorcycle, well, he goes no bucket just to look nails and just to probably pick up that chick with a sleeve tattoo sitting at a place like the Dirty Dog Saloon outside of Scottsdale, Arizona, where you can go in there and just basically play a role and try to even take that one step further to try to like go the total opposite of what your ex was. It's hilarious.
Yes, that's a breakup. Like, you're pissed off. You got dumped. You didn't like it. You didn't end it. She ended it. You weren't tough enough for her. Her last boyfriend had a sleeve tattoo, bigger arms than you. You weren't tough enough for her. So you're pissed off. You go out and buy yourself a hog. maybe a Harley Davidson, you're driving it, no bucket. Like, I ain't buying a fucking bucket for this thing. You probably only ride it for like 2 weeks before you kind of settle down and realize you're being a dumbass. But yeah, that's not.
It's so funny because you got the guy that can't even actually trust a turn in that hog driving the Harley, but he's riding it. And he's also probably posting a story or even one to just his normal feed on IG of the new hog, right? You know, you meet some fake friends that you could maybe take a video with. Maybe even take a step further and get that leather jacket with a fake biker gang that you're a part of that you started. It's like an American Eagles outfitter leather jacket, and you kind of just get a custom build of that. That's so funny.
That would be nails, actually. That sounds like a good time.
That's all time. So that is what guys do to get laid. That is just a classic. Azo, I think we open up the lines, fella. I think we go over to the people's part of the show. Let's take some questions. I'm just going to start us off at the top. This comes in off of our page, the Live in 5 podcast page comment section on the post. Johnny Felch, he said, appreciate you asking a question too, fella. Can we get a top 10 list of drinking games? Also, please let us know which is the most underrated. Top 10? That's a lot of games. I would say off the top of my head, if we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of back and forth, Azo, I think we could probably agree. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this before. Probably beer pong, just a gentleman's game, right?
Yep, 100%.
So we got beer pong at 1. At 2, what do we think that is?
I mean, 2, I'm putting musical flip cup for sure.
Right. So we got musical at 2. 3, I would say, would be probably just old school flip cup. Would it be, or would you go like, because you got like beers?
Team flip cup. Yeah. You're going best of 9. If you're with beauties, best of 7, just with normal people. But yeah, team flip cup. That's a different game than musical flip cup. 100% different game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's
Jordo. I know number 4.
Okay, talk to me.
It's got to be ace.
Yes, that is a
ace
very
on the volleyball court.
Yep.
You can't do it everywhere, but if you got a volleyball court in the sand, ace, it's when a point is scored without someone touching it.
Yep.
That's an ace. Whole team has to drink or finish a beer, right? They all have to finish one beer.
Yep. Yeah. So you go to the side of the court, everyone grabs a beer. Maybe you got a bottle out there. And you get on a knee and you touch that, either the beer or you do like a 3 or 4 gulper and you go right back to playing. And that's probably the best game in the world if you're at a nice beach and you have 10 odd people to play with because it's so mint, fella. That game is unbelievable. At 5, I would probably say I don't think a whole lot of people know this game, but what comes to my chin would be Bunker. Bunker is an absolute mix of basically a mix of beer pong. It's 3-on-3 beer pong, but also adds an element of physicality, which is hilarious.
Stealing balls back and forth.
Yeah, so you have a 6 cup and then a middle cup, which is the intermission cup in the middle, which is a full beer, and then a 6 cup on the other side in terms of a triangle. Obviously, the other side has the same alignment. And from there, you match up with the guy across from you, and you can move any which way you want on the table. Obviously, the midline is the halfway point where, if you cross that line, that's when the physicality gets in. So you could go across the table, say you try to bounce one, hits a cup, doesn't go in. You go over there and you can throw a body to try to get that ball back. And you can only shoot when your turn is. So say I'm playing against Azo and he shoots on me. He makes one. I have to drink that cup, and that's the only time I can shoot is when I finish that cup, and he could bury me. And then say, I swat a ball away from someone else.
You get your partners handing you balls and just burying this guy who's drinking a cup. He can't shoot.
Exactly. And also what I was going to say is, say Azo, we're playing against each other, and I end up swatting away a ball from one of Azo's teammates. Well, that's a penalty because I can only swat if he tries to bounce against me. We're playing 1-on-1, basically in a 3-on-3 game. And, there's more rules to it. But Bunker is one of the best games ever, especially late night. And it's just the boys. Like, you want to get physical. You want to throw elbows. 3-on-3 bunker, always a best of 9. That's a hell of a game. So we can explain that one further at a later time. But Azo, we got bunker coming in at 5. What do you have at 6?
I got 6. I got drunk driving on, and it's not actually drunk driving. It's played on Mario Kart. You can play it on GameCube, Nintendo 64. They got Wii, Mario Kart, whatever. But essentially, you start this race, and you got to finish a beer before you finish the race. But you cannot be driving your car or your character while you're drinking. So you got to put her in park. Some guys try to do it right off the hop. They don't even start driving. They just start drinking and they finish the beer before they even start the race. Some guys do it opposite side. A little bit of strategy there, but unbelievable game regardless. Yeah,
that's a hell of a game. That's a game we always used to play at the pit. Shout out to Marv and Larry. They would literally basically act like there was not even anyone around them. There's a party of 200 people around them. They would not even acknowledge that. They would just play drunk driving until failure, until someone dropped, and they would, split a 30-pack and just go race for race. So that's a hell of a game. What are we thinking for 7? Are we thinking, is it Beersby? Is it baseball? Like what?
Yeah,
I was at 7.
I think you got to put Beersby up there because you can kind of play it in the water. It's usually kind of a lake game. You can play it on the shore or in a yard. You can put it in the water if you got, water up to your kind of half calves, unbelievable game.
Yeah, Beersby is when obviously you just set the beer on top of what is it, like a?
Got to have a beer in your hand.
You got to have a beer in your hand. But what's that stand called? Like you set it on it's almost like a tiki torch stand.
Yeah, it's like a tiki torch, and then the bottle's
on top. You set the beer on top of it. Yeah, the beer just sits nicely on top of it, and then you obviously have the frisbee, and you go to throw it, and if it hits the tiki torch, knocks the beer off. Well, you have to catch the beer and the frisbee, and if you miss one of them, you drink. And if you miss the beer, I think it's more drinks than the other one. But that's a hell of a game too. I'm trying to think of some other drinking games that are. Yeah, I guess baseball. Like baseball, I think is like a 10 slot. If anything, it's decent.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I don't know if you can count Dizzy Bat if you're really for it. If you're having like a team party or something. Yep. You're really kind of for it, celebrating a rookie party or some deal, whatever. The Dizzy Bat's always a good one to see the boys stumbling around after they have to chug a beer. It's unbelievable.
Okay, so we'll put Dizzy Bat at 9. I'm gonna vouch for this for number 8, the Thunderstruck drinking game that we played in Nashville. When Thunderstruck comes on by AC/DC and you circle up with all the fellas and you're 30 plus years old in the middle of the bar drinking to Thunderstruck. Thunderstruck in that song, I think, is said over 35 times, and you get in a circle and you just drink every time you hear Thunderstruck. You drop to a knee, thunder, and you just hammer beers. And I think we had a 12-pack, and there was like 5 of us playing. We ran out in the middle of the song, so we had to go up to the bar again, try to order more at Kid Rock's. By the time that came back, I think we only got like 3 or 4 more Thunders, and we were so sad it was done. So I'm putting Thunderstruck at 8, Beersby at 9, and then 10. Like, there's got to be something better than baseball, though. No?
Yeah, I was gonna say like maybe if you're kind of just chilling, like a TV show, like a Bachelor drinking game, or like if you're watching hockey, there's some drinking games watching. Like it's okay, I guess. I don't know, like 10, a list of 10. I'm gonna be honest, I don't play many of these games down after like 5, 6, but
we used to play that game where you would put the cards in the beer.
Oh, that's a good one. What is that?
And it'd be like 7 Heaven. It would be Never Have I Ever.
Kings.
Ace. It was like King. What was that game called?
What's that game?
That game is sick.
You make like rules. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
The
7
Queen's
Heaven,
a question.
8 date, 10 whatever.
4's whores.
Yeah, 4 whores. 6 is dicks. So all the dudes drink, and then obviously when you get those cards in that top of the cap, and then once that beer explodes on that person, you hear that little zip. And it opens up.
How about the fingers game? The fingers game is a good one too.
Yeah, fingers game. Yes.
And 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
4.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So those will be our honorable mentions and 10 slot, I guess, because he was asking about honorable mentions. So we got We got the Kings game, whatever, the card game, that game, I forget, people will know it. And then we got the fingers. And then what do we have? We had baseball. So yeah, there's some in there, Ozzo. I mean, 10's a lot. Like, I don't get to play these games anymore. I'm lucky if we get to play beer pong or musical flip.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll move right along here to our second question. This one comes in from Wolf Schaaf 87. He says, Ozzo, he says, I want to know how many sticks you guys were granted per year at UND during your career time frame. I feel like the newbies have no hard stop limit, living in luxury. So, Ozzo, you can take this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of depended on your equipment manager, but we did it. When we were there, Jordan, we had the luxury. It was kind of like, you get as many sticks as you want, and you get whatever stick you want. Now, it was tough to get rid of those flexed out ones. The ones that don't break and they're flexed out, and you're like, I'm not using this in a game. I'm never going to use it. He's like, well, I can't give you another stick because you got one right there, and then you kind of got to go into a back room, maybe try to break it somehow so you can get a new stick. But in terms of, I don't think they had. Oh, I got a funny story about this, Jordo. It was actually, I don't know if you're still there. If it was my juniors, I think it was my junior year actually. Might have been my senior year. But I got this bad batch of sticks. Yep. Would break in the same spot every time I took a one-timer, and they were breaking in practice, breaking in games. And I remember I was trying to get a new batch. I was like, hey, like these sticks suck. Like, I need a new batch. I can't use these. And our EQ manager's like, hey, you got to use them. Like, there's still like 25 left. Like, you got to keep using them. And I remember, like, I don't like being a rat or anything, but I remember talking to Jax about it. I was like, Jax, like, these sticks suck. Like, I can't play with them. Like, I need new sticks. He's like, all right, we'll see what we can do. And the next game we played, Jordo, I got a one-timer pass, and I broke the stick right in that spot. Puck went behind me, gave up a 2-on-1. I can't remember if they scored or not. And I came back to the bench, and Jax was yelling at the EQ manager, he needs no fucking sticks.
That is so funny. You used to use those rocket ball too, the CCM ones that were white. I don't think those sticks had any feel, but the way the one-timer connected on that stick, and especially remember that one offside 1T you had against Northern Michigan, still might be one of the sickest shots ever. It was like a hard pass that came like almost dot to dot, and you snuck down the wall, or I think you might have even been playing forward at the time. And you just went far side bunker with an absolute piss missile over the goalie's shoulder, like posting in. I'm like, holy fuck. But yeah, we used to get as many sticks as we wanted. I mean, we had a guy, shout out to Andy Rannells, who was our equipment guy, and then we had Eric Kupka, a couple other guys. But we used to, I think it's a little different now, Ozzo. You could get any stick you wanted. I think maybe only the top guy, the top dog, can now get a Bauer or an Easton or maybe a different stick. But back in our day, man, I remember I ordered like 48 Bauer Vapors, and I was like, fuck, man, I don't really like the flex I ordered. I ordered 90 or 95. And for whatever reason, I wanted to switch back to something a little whippier. I wasn't that strong. I wanted to go back to something I was using in junior, and I wanted to go back to the Reebok that I'd been using, that making us use the old 2x4 all the way through the USHL. I'm like, I can't get used to this Bauer. It's actually too nice of a stick. I'm used to this fucking old school CCM or Reebok, which now they're pretty good, but back then they were horrible. So I went back to those, and I think he ordered me another 48. And, like, it was just that. It didn't matter. You could get as many pairs of skates as you wanted within reason. I think it was like maybe they cut you at 4, but sticks, man, it was always a go. And I would always, sounds bad, but I always wanted fresh twigs for the weekend. So whether I had to break one to show them to get 2, or break 2 to show to get 4 new ones for the weekend, well, I was doing that and using fresh lumber.
You lose at nodak, you got no excuses. They literally give you everything you need to be successful. And you got no excuses. It's not like, fuck, our sticks were brutal. Like, that's why I missed that one. It's like, you got no excuse.
Right. So, yeah, that's the luxury of playing at the best university. Ozzo, this question comes in from Rick Sticky Long Jr. His question for next week, as in this week, what is it about red pepper? I'm not from Grand Forks, but my wife is. She loves it. The pepper is the first place her brother hits when he's in town. You all hit it when you're in town. What's the draw? Don't get me wrong. I enjoy the place, but I don't worship it like most of you people do. You people, thanks and look forward to the next week's show. Signed as Rick. Well, Rick, let me tell you right now, my friend, this dates back to my grandpa being best friends with the OG owner of the Red Pepper in Bruce Tellman. God bless the late Bruce Tellman. His kids now, Jeff, he owns the Red Pepper. Jeff's a good man with a good chin as well. And from the time I was 4, 5, 6 years old that I could remember, I had white sauce oozing out of every orifice of my body. I mean, to the point my freshman year, I went there. I think I said it on last week's pod. I think I went there 40 straight days. I touched the Red Pepper from mid-August all the way till October, and then I don't miss many days in between that. I think my freshman year, I almost went at least 4 or 5 times a week. Ozzo, you're a local East Grand Forks product. You know the same thing. Red Pepper, again, now to the outsiders, they might have it the first time. They might think it's a little greasy. They might think it's a little gross, but I guarantee it, if you have it when you're drunk, everyone will say the same thing. A cheese tostada might be better than sex at that hour at 2 a.m. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It's something that's been ingrained in us, especially since we were kids. And that's my favorite restaurant in the world. I don't care what anybody says. It's the Red Pepper. Shout out to those folks at the Pep.
Yeah. No, I always tell people, like, if you're not a Grand Forks native or you don't know what's going on there, like, I'm not going to tell you it's going to be the best meal of your life, but there's a little bit of nostalgia attached to it. It's late nights. You know, most of the time when you get it, when you live in Grand Forks, they're open till like 3:30 a.m. because everyone goes after the bar, and after the bar, it tastes unbelievable. The white sauce, I think the white sauce has everything to do with it because, like, this grinder, the tacos, the cheese tostada, to me, they would really be nothing without the white sauce. So that's a huge factor. And you really gotta know what you're getting into here, Rick, because you're not going there to get a 5-star meal. You're going there to get one of the most unhealthy meals of your life. You know it, and you're pumped for it. Like, that's all. And you're expecting that. And once you expect that, and that's what you're going, those are your intentions going in there, that it's just unbelievable. Like, and he's right. Like, every time I go back, I do have to stop there and either get some tacos, get a grinder, get some tostadas 100% every time, and sometimes even get the cheese tortilla soup. And it's unbelievable.
Sneaky. Yeah, so, you got to mix it up.
Yeah.
Also, and like the taco meat is actually good. Like, if you get a hard shell taco and that's all you get, I could see why you don't like the grinder. I get that. Okay. I love that. I know what we signed up for. But go in there, get a hard shell taco. Hell, even do it Schneider style. Comes with all 3 sauces. They put the red sauce, the white, and the enchilada sauce. And if you don't like any of that, maybe try the Mexi Burger, a.k.a. the Mexi Burglar.
Great.
Also, their enchiladas are sneaky good too. I don't know. Yeah. If you don't like it, Ricky, I'm not forcing anything on you. I'm just saying that is our spot. So shout out to the Red Pepper. Ozzo, I want you to answer this one. This comes in from Suhaki 33. I think this fella actually might have been in Walsh Hall my freshman year with me. He says, what was the best and worst part about Walsh Hall? Any good stories to tell about the dorm no longer there?
The worst part, I'll tell you the worst part was, well, it was old as shit, and it had no AC. So
no AC.
A couple of those months in there were fucking tough, especially right when school starts. I mean, Jesus, it was tough. But you know what? We actually went out and bought a pretty expensive, window unit.
Did you?
Worked great. Oh yeah, we had like 7 guys sleeping in our room every night for like the first 2 months of season.
So we used to just we just have to get drunk to go to sleep is what we do. We get drunk and then take a cold shower. We weren't as smart as you guys, Owazo.
Yeah. But my favorite part of Walsh Hall was just the stories, man. And you knew when you were in there, you were a part of history because you had heard from so many alumni, regardless if they're hockey players or just students there and older people that you knew. There was just so many stories that came out of Walsh Hall. And it seemed like every time you were in there, you were with at least 5 to 6 guys, 5 to 6 of your best buddies at the time. And you're a freshman in college when you're in there. It's the best time of your life, like we were saying, I think, on last episode. Like, when you're going with E.G. Emery, like when you're going into school, I mean, that's like your life is starting basically. Like you got a whole new chapter and you're on your own and you're going to bedtime. Your mom's not waking you up. You don't know where you're going to get your laundry done. You're acting like an idiot and you're with your best friends the whole time and having dorm parties in there. I mean, you're having a little dorm party in there. You have no business throwing a party in this, what is it, 8x10 room?
Well, it's an absolute shoebox. Yep, 8x12.
There's no business having a party in there. We're like, let's have a dorm party. Why? Because it's funny, and it was
hilarious. Yeah, and I mean, we had 3 guys in my dorm because Chiswick was the odd man out, and he was basically rooming with a character like Todd in Wedding Crashers, right? Painting pretty pictures and doing weird shit, and who knows what. So Chiswick ended up just using that as basically somewhere to store his clothes. And then he would stay in our room on the futon. So it was me, Zane McIntyre, and Chiswick in an 8x12 dorm. And you could imagine that most nights in there, sober, yes, but a lot of nights we were getting banged up. And the funny part about it, Ozzo, is where Colton Sanderson and Drake Kajula were living, literally just one floor up. We were 102B, they were 202B. We would go up there, and we called it the Sandy Pavilion, where they actually cleared enough space and purposely went bunk beds so we could put a beer pong table that we stole out of the closet, the janitor's closet, that happened to be an official 8-footer. And we would just put it behind the couch every time we wanted to play. And our Tuesday tradition was a one-on-one double knockout 5-man beer pong tournament. And before it, we would order Parrot K's wings. So we go pick up Parrot K wings. We pick up 260 racks and a handle of, I believe it was Captain Morgan white rum and a bottle of Coke, the 1 liter. We'd all hammer Parrot K wings. So you can imagine the shits you're having during that with the beer mixed in and the rum. And then after the tournament, we would order Deke's Pizza to be delivered. So it'd be Parrot K wings, about 20 beers a guy, and then Deke's Pizza after. And, obviously it was a dorm party, but there's just like the amount of shit that came out of that dorm is just, it's legendary. And you could think about all the UND players from the 60s to 2014.
It's a story machine.
Year. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's all guys. It's hilarious. So it brings a tear to my chin that they had to bulldoze that thing. But RIP to Walsh Hall and what a spot. I mean, I remember like Ozzo, I would come back to your guys' place when I had a place off campus just to hang out in Walsh and have a party in there or play, NHL drinking game or whatever it was. Like, it was hilarious.
Yeah, you just want to be in there. And it's like, it was great. I actually feel bad for these guys coming up now because when you go to an UND hockey alumni event, everyone's talking about Walsh Hall. You're telling stories about Walsh, and these guys don't get that. So I kind of feel sad for them.
Yes. Okay, this one you submitted, Ozzo, comes in from Blake Walter. For the Live in 5 People's Pod episode, what are the best scenarios to watch a sporting event on TV other than the Cup finals or Cup playoffs? I'm going to start us off and say any college football game or NFL game, I just find so much better on TV. I just think it's nice to be in the arena every now and then, but watching on TV is unbelievable. And also, one time I went to a game at Lambeau on the suite level, the club level, where you're actually inside, but you're at the game, and they have it on the TV with the radio hooked up. So it's like the best of all worlds coming together where I'm at the game, I can see it good. I have the TV, but I also have the broadcast coming through. So now I have the full game experience. But don't you agree with that? Like, what are some other options?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And then other ones I like watching on TV, I guess, is kind of focused on watching on TV rather than in person or something. Got to go golf, any of the majors. The Masters just kind of, I don't know, like the Masters is unbelievable watching. And then I'm going to have to throw in, just because we just had the Wimbledon, I love watching these tennis finals. Now they're always on a Sunday morning or something, and it's just fucking action nonstop for it depends on how long the match goes, but you could watch tennis for 4 hours on a Sunday. And
just stung.
Just unbelievable. Anything on TV on a Sunday is just unbelievable because you got nothing to do.
No, you have nothing to do, and it's always nice too when they're playing, say in Wimbledon, where it comes on a little early in the morning too, when you're a little just still stung, like you're not moving, and it's 8, 9 o'clock, and you're waking up, and they're in the middle of, say, the second set, and you know you got about 2 hours left, maybe even 3 if this thing goes to a fifth set. Like that's some of the best TV. I'm trying to think what else. You got football, golf, tennis, hockey. Obviously, in the arena is nothing compares.
Nothing.
I'm trying to think of them. Basketball, I would say, is probably a wash. It is cool to be in the arena, but at the same time, they do a decent job on TV. So those are ones that come to mind. NASCAR, probably better there when you got BYOB and you're all goofed up on Percocets. But
for sure.
Yeah, those are the 4 major. Azo, we'll take a couple more here. Paul Baker coming in from Twitter. How do hockey fans and everyone else, for that matter, get Gary Bruce Bettman, as he put him, Buttman, to recognize the problems with concussions and CTE? Today's news was saddening and maddening. I'm sure he was referring to the late Greg Johnson, who was really good friends with our dear friend and Dane Jackson, who coaches at the University of North Dakota, the associate coach. Well, I'm going to start off with this one. I think Bettman obviously knows the link, but he probably doesn't want to put himself and the league in jeopardy of suing themselves with, I don't know, insurance money, which is crazy to say because they should be pro player and they should be pro retired player at this point. I think all the science is there to back, obviously, if you take head hits playing in the NHL, that you're probably going to have some repercussions, especially being a fighter or a guy that's dealt with concussive issues or symptoms. So it is weird, Azo, to the point, but I think in terms of Bettman being a pure businessman, he's probably thinking, if I don't have to, I won't acknowledge it. I'll kind of just sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
But I do think that in this day and age, especially with the NFL and their concussion foundation and what they've done in terms of acknowledging it from Roger Goodell's standpoint, I think there's a way where not only ex-players in hockey should have medical coverage, there should also be things to say something, guys going through, a hard time with dealing with, if it's depression and it's directly linked to these head injuries. Like, I think it's about time, they fork up and sack up and just basically come to terms with, we want to help these guys and be pro players and be advocates to guys that put their fucking body on the line for our league.
Yeah. And I don't even know, I guess with this question, how do we get Gary Bettman to recognize the problems? I'm not too up to date on what Gary says about it. I think he just kind of doesn't talk about it.
Yeah, he doesn't like.
Is he still denying it? I know at one point they're all denying it, but I don't think they're denying it anymore, are they? They're kind of just not talking about it.
I think he just always says like there's not conclusive evidence that there is a direct link, which is kind of crazy to say. It is crazy to say. But I think at this point, he's not like contradicting himself, and he's not actually like challenging the other side. I think he just stays relatively quiet.
Yeah, and I just don't know what we want Gary Bettman to say. Like, hey, everyone, all these kids coming up playing hockey, you don't want to do this. You should quit playing because you're going to get CT. Is that what you want? I don't think that's what we want, because at the end of the day, Jordo, when I was a kid, and I know all these other kids coming up playing hockey, like, you're kind of dumb as a kid. You're not thinking about your future as much. When you're 18 years old, you don't give a fuck about what it's going to be like when you're 60. That's a future you problem. And unfortunately, right now, you don't really care about a future you. But, all these kids, even if they know what might happen, the CTE thing, okay, thanks for telling me. I'm still playing.
Right.
It's not going to change. None of these guys, if you're like, hey, we're going to give you all the material you need, all the, information that you need on CTE and everything that it does for you and everything that it does to you and how dangerous it is and how bad it is for your future. We're going to give you all this information. And at the end of the day, every single one of these players is going to be like, thank you for that. I don't care. I'm still playing.
Yeah,
that's the reality of it. I think what they should do is, really make sure that every player coming up knows and is very greatly understands the side effects that this could cause you, the risks. Now, as long as all these guys know, which most of them, I would say, Jordo, do know. I mean, I knew it. I played a long time ago. I knew the risks of playing with a concussion. We were never supposed to do it. Now, I was a dumb kid, Jordo. I played through multiple concussions, and I told my trainer I didn't have a headache when I did all the time because I wanted to get fucking drafted, I wanted ice time. It's part of the game. I just don't know what you can do. I guess they could do stuff like the NFL where if it looks like you got a concussion, you're out of the game, we're not letting you play for at least 2 weeks or something. They could implement some of those rules, but then again, sometimes it looks like you hurt your head and you didn't. So I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, and if you tell a guy like Matt Rempe the effects, okay, fella, this is the only way in my life that I'm going to make 7 figures, and this is what I want to do. And you can't take money off of a guy's plate or his family's plate if he knows the risks. Let's be honest. Everyone knows the fucking risk now of hitting your head. I just think from a pure Bettman standpoint, getting back to the question, he could acknowledge it, and there could be better ways to help players on the back half struggling with these symptoms and head-related injuries where let's get insurance for these guys that have, say you played 300 games, okay? Now you get the full insurance package for you and your family until you're 65 years old. Right now, guys are coming out of pocket to get that same coverage the minute they're let go from the league and they're on their own, and you have, say you have a family and you want that National League coverage, which is the best in the world. Well, if you have a family of 5, that's costing you about 40 G's a year. So I just think there's better ways to take care of the players because it's such a selective league, and it's a true honor to be a part of that club. If you played a certain amount of games, you should get taken care of. So that's all I think we're trying to say over here. Azo, let's just rip through a few of these just quickly. This comes in from Braden McDonald. Give the people in 1 word or 2 words or less what these answers are. So we'll start with you. What's a special X factor in musical flip cup that regular flip cup is missing?
Shades.
Yep.
I'm gonna make that mine. Yeah.
Love that. This one I'll take. Swishy, proud Butter Golf owner. Just wondering if there's going to be a Live in 5 summer playlist because the intro songs are good. Keep it going. Love you guys. Love the fellas. This comes in from Friar Capital LP. Yes, we plan on doing maybe a karaoke special where we'll get you dialed in. Fella, thanks for calling in. This one here. Since it is open question time, all of us Scottsdale hockey fans are still mourning the Yoes. Has the people's heard of anyone that has been rumored to be kicking the tires on putting a real ownership group together? This comes in from G-Reg, a.k.a. Greg. Fella, nothing I've heard yet. I think that will eventually come to fruition, but it's still early. It's still young. It's still hung. Azo, we're going to go to our last question here, and I want you to take this one. This comes in from an all-time beauty. He's the one-arm bandit. Met him up in Calgary during a live show. Literally has one arm. Rocks out to Randy Hauser running a moonlight.
Fuck yeah.
He says, Brett Fox says, fellas, one-arm bandit checking in from the chin of Alberta. Want to know if either of you will be in nodak December 13th and 14th. Crew coming up from up north, heading down to watch our buddy play. Would love to throw both ways with either of you, maybe break out some Randy Hauser. I don't even know who they're playing on the 13th or 14th, but you know what? That's probably the last game before Christmas, so there's a good chance. We were there last year, Azo. I mean, fuck, that was a CC series.
What's his name again, Jordan?
Brett Fox.
Brett Fox, 13th, 14th. I don't even know who they're playing, but I just put it in my calendar. I'll be in Grand Forks, fella.
Yeah, he's a beauty.
We're putting on some Randy Hauser, you fucking bet. And I'll see you there. We'll tip a few back.
Yeah, Dave Tippett. We'll see you at Bonzers, fella. Azo, last one I want you to take. It can be more than 1 or 2 words because I think you might need a few more than that, which is good. This comes in from Frank M. He comments. He goes, sup, fellas. What are some realistic expectations for Sioux hockey this year?
I think realistic expectations. These are realistic damn near every year. Now there have been some years they haven't been set up for success as much, but the realistic expectation is to obviously win the Penrose, and I would say make the Frozen Four. That is the expectation. You can't expect to win the national championship because there's a lot of luck that goes into that. But I think this is the year that they need to make the Frozen Four. They've got the players, they've got the young talent coming in. I know they lost Blaker and Reese Gaber and some guys on the back end, but that's the expectation.
Yep. I mean, it's win or bust, as McDusty said a couple months ago. Azo, that was the People's Podcast edition, just where we open up the phone lines. We weren't able to get to all the questions, but we appreciate everyone for asking. We're going to do probably one of these in the next 3-4 months, like we always do, take questions from the people. We love to hear from you. And again, if you have any other questions that we didn't get to, we'll DM one of us. We'll try our best to get back to you. And if we didn't answer your question, I am sorry. Over here at 93.1. Azo, we got the Open Championship coming up this week. Colin Montgomery, lastly, just had a hilarious quote about Tiger, telling him basically to retire. You're too fucking old, Dunlop. Get out of the game. Tiger this week at St. Andrews. Or where are they playing at? They're actually playing at Royal Troon Golf Club. He, over at the Royal Troon Golf Club, kind of put that to bed and said, you know what, as a past champion, I'm exempt until I'm 60. Colin's not. He's actually never been a past champion, so he's not exempt. So what he doesn't get, he doesn't get that opportunity to make that decision. I do. Eldrick Woods, take out your wrench, settle it good, clean and fun. That was hilarious. I think if we're betting, like, what are the chances Rory finishes second? I think McIlroy is like a shoe-in, like meltdown kind of guy. You know, just that kind of. It's that year for Rory, and it seems like he does what he does best. He runs it up. He finishes third, or he just a complete choke job. So I'm looking for that this week in terms of bets.
Yeah, Rory for sure second. I think Bryson's going to be firing out there again. He's hot. Yeah. Colin Morikawa is another good bet. He's been playing good golf recently. But Rory, man, he had a pretty good comment after he missed that putt at the U.S. Open. He's like, yeah, I thought everyone in the world cared, when he missed that putt, and everyone's like making fun of me. And he's like, I headed downtown New York City and I walked around and no one fucking cared. It made me feel a lot better. And he's right. If something bad happens, you think the world's falling down, just walk around a crowded place and look around. No one gives a fuck.
No one gives a fuck. My blocks, I think I'm going Rory top 10 not to win. I think Tiger does finish the tournament. And then another sneaky one, not even really sneaky. I just had Xander Schauffele. I don't think he'll win, but I think he's a top 10 lock. Again, a guy like Scooty Chef, how the fuck do you bet against him, whatever the odds are? So I'll be interested. I'm going to be watching that this weekend. Speaking of just waking up hung on a Sunday with some European golf or tennis, there's nothing better. Hopefully we can have a good match coming down to the chin of that major. But Azo, let's get over to Kenny Agostino. You weren't able to join this one, my friend. You are the CEO of Mini Movers, so we'll have to get Kenny on again during the season because he is a beauty. He's going to be playing in Germany this year in the top German league. Fun to chat with an old friend. So Kenny Agostino coming up here. Azo, with you, always tape to tape, my friend. Hell of a weekend in Forks, and we're going to be running it back, not this weekend, but next week. So, you know what? Get the Percocets, the muscle relaxers, whatever you need, because you're going to need the rest coming up in about 10 days here. So, All right, brother. That was Live in 5, episode number 47, folks. That was a pre-show, the People's Edition. Woo! Now introducing from Morristown, New Jersey, the Garden State native with a good chin, a good left, and a hell of a right is in his 11th year as a professional hockey player, going over to, Germany and joining Ingolstadt this fall. Folks, a fan of Oktoberfest, a fan of Bruce Springsteen, a former teammate, a former AHL MVP, a veteran of 100-odd NHL games. Please welcome my good friend, my Italian good friend, Kenny Agostino, to the Live in 5 podcast. Ego, what's going on, fella? How we doing, baby?
What's up, dude? What an intro. How are you, buddy?
I'm great, man. And I always tell people, and you are a listener of the pod, I think. You see all our clips. I mean, you're a dear friend as is, but I always tell people that come on, it's a mixture of a strip club DJ. You kind of get that old school Chicago Bulls like starting lineup. So it's yours truly over here, Swish. So I appreciate you joining me, Kenny. Obviously rocking one guy this show. Azo, I think, is over at a doctor's appointment. Not sure what he's doing, but going one nut, if you will, with this one. How you doing, man? What's up? Where you at right now?
I'm good, dude. I'm just down in Naples at my place for the off-season with my fiance and the dogs, and just training, a little bit of golf, and hanging out.
Love it, man. Love it. And Ego, like, you've spent a lot of time, especially, up north, and you bought your place over there in Naples the last couple of years. You've been down. You used to do a desert run that we'd always used to do, like right after the season, kind of like a year-end bender special. You bring in some of the Yale boys. Shout out to our boy Dazer. But right now, like, how many more weeks do you have to soak it in? Obviously, you're skating, working out, doing your thing. But when are you going to go over to the chin of Germany? When are you going to start going and, ramping it up in terms of a training camp over there? Is it like late July or is it early August? Like, when is it, fella?
Yeah, it's late July. So I got 2 weeks left. So the days are numbered. And I don't know. I feel like once from experience, once you play in Europe, I just feel like once that calendar turns July, it just, it doesn't even, you can't even feel like settled at home anymore. You just kind of, your mind can't start thinking about what you got to pack up to go. It's just like, even the fucking nights out don't feel the same because it's one of 6 left or something like that.
Yeah.
So July isn't a comfy month, I feel like, for European pros.
Once that calendar, especially after the July 4 bend, because then it really gets real, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
June hits. June is like you're still kind of in that just vacation mode. Yeah, you're skating, working out, but then July hits, and then July 4, and after that hot dog eating competition, you're looking around and you're trying to lick your wounds and shake it off, and you're literally shaking because you're getting on that bird at some time later this month, but. It's always hard leaving, but once you get over there, you get into a camp, it's all good. And they really do a good job in terms of easing you into it in terms of, you're getting some preseason games. I mean, you're going to get, 7, 10 odd preseason games before you get into the season. Obviously, you show up in shape, but it's kind of a nice time, especially for you going into a new team to meet some of the new fellas, to meet the imports. And that's one of the cool things about playing in Germany, Ken. I mean, you played in Russia, you played in Germany now, overseas. That's got to be nice just having, 8 to 10 odd imports on a team, right? And be able to hang out with some familiar foes and guys you've played against or, have mutual buddies.
Definitely, yeah. Just like you said, it's like 4th of July is a really good benchmark. That's like your 3-4 day bend, whatever you need, get it out of you. Then you kind of rein it in. You start to figure out what you got to do to get over there. And you're right. I was just talking about this the other day. I look at it both ways. We come from however many years we were both North American pros, and it's good and bad. Like the way they do training camp, it's like they don't drag it on, right? It's 2.5, 3 weeks testing, practice, start playing preseason, and then you go. For us in the jungle, it was always a little longer. If you don't make the team out of camp, you get an extra 2.5 weeks. But it's still, even that's like a total of 5 weeks. And it is. Most European leagues are like 6 weeks, but it is kind of nice. Once you're over there and you're settled, it sucks, I think, you're kind of pissed leaving that early because you just feel like you have so much more runway to summer when you see, the first game's not until September 19th and you're getting on a bird July 31st. But in that regard, you're right. It's a great way to getting the guys, settle in. You don't have to feel like you got to be game ready August 1st. Don't get me wrong. Like you said, we all show up in shape nowadays, like on ice, off ice, you got it, or else you're behind. But it is a nicer way to build from a hockey standpoint to solely build for game one. And especially, like you said, meet the guys, especially in Germany, 10, 11 imports on each team. It was a totally different vibe than Russia. So in that regard, it's a lot of fun. And I missed training camp last year. So I just kind of jumped right in 4 games into the German season. So this year I'm looking forward to really getting to know the guys early, get a taste of the city, take the train to Munich maybe and settle in a bit, which would be fun.
That was always my thing, especially being centrally located 2 years ago in Switzerland before I got hurt or whatever, was always just those August shifts. You play a preseason game, maybe Friday, maybe Thursday, and then the coach would give you a Saturday, Sunday off, or maybe it's just a Saturday night. Maybe you play a matinee on a Saturday and then you have Sunday off. I'm like, fella, getting on that train right out of the chin of Zurich. I'm going right down to Lake Como. Don't call or text me because then I'm going to be sliding to Milan and I'm going to go to a Champions League game and it might be a solo mission. I might just be going by myself, boys, and pulling up the old Raya app or whatever it is and trying to get something done. If you're unrestricted, but it's so nice for you if you have the gal over there or even a couple buddies to go into a cool city. I mean, you're so close to everything over there, especially being where you are. And it's like southern Bavaria, isn't it, that spot?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can get to Zurich in probably what, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, you think?
Not far at all. Yeah. I think Bavaria is really cool where it's close to, I think, Switzerland, Austria, and Italy. So, yeah, we thought about a couple of things, but like you said, that is another cool thing. It's like those odd Friday, Saturday nights off preseason. If you feel like you're stealing one, because you know it is the hockey season. It's so rare to even get a Saturday go night during the season, especially in Europe. I feel like it's all Friday, Sunday games. So if you get a Friday, Saturday night preseason, you're stealing one, and it'll be fun this year. Yeah, with the dogs over there and my gal, we'll try to plan a couple of cool trips, maybe like the Swiss Alps or something like that. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be something different.
100%. I mean, you get on that bird July 31st, you actually have a tear come to your chin. And then you're like, okay, well, I get to my spot. I realize I have a nice place to live. They hooked me up very nice. I got my car. I got my local watering hole. I'll go get some schnitzel here. We got practice at this time. A couple days off. Check the big board. Okay, now I'm mapping it out, and then all of a sudden, it makes that month of August go a little bit quicker. And I don't know. You're gonna just get used to a different spot. And just take me back like last year, Ken. Even going through the injury, you had a little bit of an elbow injury that happened in Russia the year past. It kind of got fucked up a little bit. We don't have to get into too much of that detail, but you go in and you kind of just like almost had to hit the ground running. Where this year it's like, okay, well, I'm at least gonna have my bearings. But just talk about like the German league. Like, what did you notice between the difference between the K and say the DEL?
Yeah. So, all right. So I'll go back to the injury in Russia. Like, yeah, totally shattered my elbow, really shitty. And first of all, like my experience in Russia, hockey wise and living wise, was awesome. I loved it. I think you've had plenty of guys on the podcast that also agreed. I think you get both sides of it with post KHL guys, but you've had guys on that have loved it as well. So I really enjoyed it. The injury sucked, and I think the timing of it all just was pretty shitty. Where it was post war, so getting in and out of the country just wasn't simple from a logistics standpoint. So I mean, normal circumstances, I don't even think Russians get surgery in Russia. I think like they go out to Germany or Switzerland just because it's better facilities out there for whatever reason. So whatever. It was early November. I couldn't fly home because you know how it is, like your contract's in jeopardy over there if you leave too early, and it didn't seem like they were going to pay at the time to have anything done outside the country. So I was kind of sitting there with a shattered arm, and I was like, I got to get something done. So the surgery in Moscow.
You can only give me so many Percocets.
Yes, that was another crazy. So I've only had 2 surgeries in my life. The first one in Moscow, like you said, it didn't go well. They didn't do a very good job, and then so I had to play out the rest of the season. I came back. I wasn't myself. Got my second surgery in April, 6 months later. But the crazy thing was how different surgeries are. Like in April, I got my surgery in New York. I went in at 6 a.m. I was out of there at 2 o'clock. And in Russia, I went in day 1. I didn't leave for 8 days.
Yeah, remember you were texting me the whole time. I think we even had like a FaceTime or a video call. But I remember you saying like the nurse would come around every night and just give you some sort of laughing gas, and she'd be laughing at you. You'd be like, no,
yeah,
and then
no more.
Boom, knock you out.
It was fucked. It honestly felt like I was in like a drunken stupor, like a drugged out stupor for like 8 days. So the second year in Russia, I feel like I picked up a little bit of Russian. I got okay at it, and I knew pain was bolna. So I'm screaming every day, bolna, and this nurse, I think, just had enough of me. So every time I'd yell for something for pain, she'd just take the covers off me, take another shot, stick it in my leg, and I'd slowly fade into the abyss, and I'd be out for like another couple hours. And now it was it's funny, it's hilarious now, but at the time, I was by myself in the hospital for like 8 days, just so drugged out. I think I called you, I called my parents, and it was a tough week, but really funny experience now that I'm okay. And then the doc in the city did a great job, and then this whole Sweden situation happened where I thought I was all set to go to Sweden, and 48 hours later that changed. That contract was terminated, and then from other pros and other buddies that we've had, sometimes it's just a waiting game, and I was able to sign in Dusseldorf first week of the season, which was great. But like you said, like coming off an injury, not 100%, jumping right into the fire, it took a little bit to feel like myself out there. So this year, I'm definitely looking forward to like being 100% healthy, having a full like training off season, and then going into a full camp, which I haven't done in a couple of years. So that'll be good.
Yeah, for sure. And you still were able to put up almost a point a game, if not a point a game, playing in Dusseldorf. And Ken, those crowds in Dusseldorf. And for people that don't know, especially that listen to the pod and maybe don't know European hockey and maybe not even German league hockey, Dusseldorf, they have to have some of the better fans in the league where you're at last year. I mean, after you got that chip that, you know, you got the chip out of your elbow, whatever they put in the serial number or the GPS in your arm in Russia, they took it out in April and all of a sudden you're back on the sheet snapping a crispy rice. That's one of the better spots to play in Germany in terms of just pure fans, right? Because it looked unbelievable.
100%. I think when it's packed, it's seated like 13,500, maybe 14 standing room only. That derby game against Cologne is pretty special. Cologne's arena, is insane. It's like, I think it's over 18,000, but both of our fan bases respectively do a really good job supporting our teams. And it was awesome to be a part of. Like, the DEG fans were unreal. It was a sick city to live in, really good group of imports and Germans, a lot of fun bars and restaurants. So I had a really good time there. And like you said, for people who don't know, like, you played in the Swiss and in Finland, like, European crowds are so sick. And I remember when I came and saw you play in Helsinki, like, that place was absolutely buzzing. It's there's something different. It's just if any fan that hasn't seen a European hockey game, the easiest comparable is just like watching a European soccer game. It's just nonstop the whole game, drums going, flags going. So it's so cool. I don't know. That was the one thing I think you and I both agreed and connected on. Obviously, we talked a bunch in Europe when we were both playing, just how much fun it was playing like meaningful hockey. And we understand what the A is now. Like, hockey's the best place it's ever been. So like the A is doing a great job being developmental league, but for older players, it just gets stale so quick because they're going to cater to younger guys, which we get. We understand how the business works, but no one gives a shit about winning, really. Unless you're the odd 2 or 3 teams like Hershey or whoever who's going to stack a roster. But
Chicago, they try to always.
Chicago. It's just so fun. Like, these fans live and die for these teams. They're so passionate in Europe, and as players, you want to win. It makes it more fun to win. It brings back that joy of like wanting to win again.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're playing for something almost like a university atmosphere where you have a student section, but it's just a bunch of drunk middle-aged asshole. And I say that with all due respect, middle-aged asshole European fans. I mean, last year, Ken, 2 years ago when I was hurt and I was going through it and I was still able to go to some games in Switzerland, like Helsinki and Finland was awesome. Those fans were crazy, but these Swiss fans, and I think it's kind of similar to Germany, they were insane. I mean, I remember like when Lugano came up and they took like 3 or 4 party buses up, there was fans in the Lugano section at the Cloten Ice Arena, like puking under their shirts. And then they would just like light off a flare. So there'd be like a fire going on in the stadium. I'm like, how is this street legal? And then after the game, whatever team won, they would kind of like meet in this little area where I called it Amen Corner outside the Cloten rink because both fans would have to shuffle that way and they would just chuck. They would like, it was like
it's all chuck.
It was a forest behind the rink, and they would just go in there and just light shit on fire and chuck. I'm like, this is so sick. Lefts and rights, let's go.
And I could be wrong. I mean, in Swiss, I'm pretty sure in Germany, like, it's so much more lenient, the container laws in Germany and Switzerland. Like, they don't give a fuck. You can walk in with a 6er, I feel like, to the arenas. They don't care. Like,
100%. You can have
everyone's drinking, everyone's driving. They don't fucking care.
No, like the right guy walks in with a dart and he's just smoking it. They're not even saying anything. The cop, like, as long as you just know him and he's your buddy and you've seen him at the bar, like, you're good. Like, they don't care about anything. Like, it's just, it's very much 20 or 30 years ago over there still.
Yeah, you're so right. And they care about their teams and they're so passionate. And on that note about like fans chucking, this is kind of funny. And we were shit. So like, I don't even, if DG fans listen, I don't blame them. But after one game we lost, it was a road game. The fans, I think, traveled like 6-7 hours by bus. And I think the fans were so choked that they were huddling up near our bus waiting because they wanted to give us a piece of their mind. I don't think they wanted to chuck, but we thought, they might have wanted to chuck, but they had enough and they wanted to tell us to our face. So I guess we had to get like there had to be like a police escort buffer when we were leaving the arena, getting on the bus, and our own fans were just burying us verbally getting on the bus. And then they created like a wall in front of the parking lot, so we couldn't exit for like 20 minutes. It was wild.
That's the best part about it because that's very much still intact of just like, let's just go. I mean, as they say on Tropic Thunder, let's just go full retard. Like, let's just get out of control. Let's go nuts. So that is great. Ken, one game you have to go to, and I think, have you been to a European soccer game over there? Have you been? Did you go check it out?
My first ever was a good one. I went to Dortmund at the end of the year, which is like a yellow wall. I think again, I'm not a big soccer guy, but everything I heard from the soccer guys, that's like a top 5, I think, atmosphere in professional soccer. And that was unreal. So yeah, now I want to go. Were you going to say Bayern Munich?
Well, no, I was just going to say, because I know you have that Italian blood running through your veins. You have to go watch a Series A game somewhere like Milan, somewhere Roma, one of these teams in the Series A. These games are unbelievable. These Italian fans are nuts. And the skill level is a little bit different than, say, in the German league. Now, listen, you're talking to a guy that watches the association, hockey, golf, and tennis. I don't watch any fucking soccer, but from what scouts tell me as the People's Insider, Series A has a lot more skilled, and it's not as physical, say, as the German league. So they're just dangling out there. It's like no angle dangle. It's like a little.
So it's almost like the Swiss league of soccer.
Yeah, and they're just like, it's very fast. It's like run and gun, but it's a lot of just one-on-one lateral play. Like that Milan game I went to was unbelievable. Like you have to go watch one of those games when you're over there if you have time.
Yeah, I gotta go. Milan was like that crispy city you went to a bunch when you were in Swiss, right?
Yeah, I mean it's University of Trim. How are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I gotta get over.
It's just a bunch of brunettes just walking around because it's the fashion capital of Europe. Europe.
Right.
So you have a lot of influx of a lot of Russian money. Obviously, it's Russian money. You have a lot of Swiss money down there, and then on top of that, everything in between with the Italian money. I would say just because it's Italy, it's not as clean as obviously like a Switzerland, but man, you're doing the old 10 and 2 with your head. You're walking across the street, and you're like, Jesus Christ, 6-inch heels, 9-inch heels.
Keep your shades on.
Like, oh my God, I got my spooky fast shades on. And I'm just trying to get harder than a diamond in an ice storm at this time because I'm just trying to keep it in check. It's
right.
So yeah, that's a great city along with just that northern Italian vibe is just cool. I really liked it there. Obviously, Rome's cool and some of those other cities, but Milan is and that stadium, that San Sandro Stadium is unreal. Like it's legendary. So
yeah, I'd love to do that. I want to go everywhere in Italy. I did Florence last year, which was awesome.
Yeah,
but that'd be a great trip to link up and see a game.
Yeah, and I mean, one of these years I gotta go come watch you guys play over there. I'm gonna have probably, I think Keaton Thompson, my buddy who finished last year in Mannheim, is going to be over there. You obviously will be there. I think Shane Gershus, who I saw at a Nodak wedding, just signed with who's the Roosters? Is it like Isterholm or something?
Iserlohn, yeah. That's
okay.
Like 40 north of Dusseldorf.
Okay. Is that is that a decent spot to be? Not bad, right?
Not bad. Their barn is an absolute saw. It's like it's probably the hardest place to play in the league because it's so, dude, it reminds me of like an old school college barn. It's so old school. It's kind of like dumpy, but in the sickest way. It's probably like 4,000 or 5,000, but right on top of you. It's so loud. They pack it for warmies, one of those arenas.
Right. Just smells like cigarettes and Pilsner.
Yeah. Actually, that's one of the funniest parts is the pregame warming spot, where you play soccer and warm up. It's right by the dart circle right outside. So there's just dart smoke in the arena constantly.
That's the best part. That's a sneaky good part about just playing in Europe too, is like, at least half of the training staff still smokes darts. So if you ever need one in between periods, you're stressed out,
you're good.
You can go up here and just say, fella, fuck, give me a heater, fella.
Oh man, the funniest was my first year in Russia. I mean, I think our entire staff ripped darts, obviously, like you said, and all the equipment guys, everyone ripped darts, but we had a pro dart plane, which I didn't even know was a thing anywhere.
Dart plane.
The funniest thing was they were like, I don't think it was one of those. It's not like one of the bus emergency latches, but there was some latch in the back of the plane where, after, obviously on the plane, everyone's having beers, whatever, some wine, whatever. So it always took like an hour or two in when all the smokers on the staff just had enough. So they get a few in them, and then they just come to the back of the plane. The flight attendants would like open a curtain, close the curtain, and then you just smell dart smoke everywhere.
Oh my God. Yeah, you get a guy just like trying to sucker the window just so it's not a goddamn chimney in there. You know what I mean? It's like, fella, what are you doing? I don't want to get sucked out of this bird right now. We're just over Siberia.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
it's crazy funny over there.
But, well, Ken, let's get into that just like quickly. Give the people just maybe your one welcome to Russia moment your first year over there. It's like, okay, this is a little different. Whether it was travel, it was some sort of food item you saw, something in a game or in the locker room. You're like, all right, this is the continental fella.
Right. I'm trying to think of just one, man. It's like the one thing that is so true that everyone says is you look back on every day and something was funny that happened. I'm trying to think of like, there's so many. One of the funniest things was that, like, at least my Russian team, their obsession with like horse meat, which I didn't even know was street legal. Like, at least in the States, I don't even know people eat horse meat, but they were obsessed with eating that. The IVs, I think that's like so overplayed, I feel like, but it's so true. Like the Russian gas, like, and just the way that they take everything. Like they'll take fluids. I feel like they'll take Tylenol in an IV. I just remember before game days, walk into the trainer's room for like, I don't even know what I needed. Like I had lace bite or something, and I was just going to get gauze or something. And you see just like 12 guys on the table with multiple IVs in their arms. I'm like, what's going on? Is it COVID or something? Like, no, day before game, hydration, or something. Say, you want to play fast? Take. So that's probably like the biggest thing. I don't know. It's really hard to just pick one. The gas is one thing. Travel's pretty funny. Just like Russian culture is just, they kind of just roll with everything. They're really hilarious, and they all have great senses of humor, I've found. And they are genuinely really nice people, but they just kind of roll with the punches. Like, no plane. I mean, what do you mean? We got a 2:00 flight. We got an early game. No plane. Do they know where it is? No. We'll find. And just like, they just go with it. Like, you'll wait there for 6 hours. You don't know when you're leaving.
Right.
Just kind of the whole culture of the way they just kind of, they roll with everything it's pretty unique and cool to see.
Right. They just embrace uncertainty is basically what it comes down to. And I think that one of the funnier things about Russia too is your driver that you have to hire over there, because nobody can stick handle in terms of your import player, because you don't want to risk your life on those roads in Russia, is your driver becomes basically your concierge service, where he's doing dry cleaning runs for you, he's going to the grocery store, and they really become kind of your lifeline over there. That would be accurate, wouldn't it, Ken?
100%. Yeah, my driver, Eugene, shout out Eugene, like one of the best men I've ever met in my life. They really are your lifeline, and I really lucked out. Mine was the nicest guy ever. They're your biggest support staff, but they do everything. Like, I mean, especially early on, and especially when you're not in a major city. Like I mean, Nizhny Novgorod is a big city. It's got like over 1 million people, but it's not one of the marquee cities in Russia, Moscow, St. Petersburg, where a lot of people speak English. So especially early on, he's everything. He's helping you find a place to stay. He's helping you get around, get your groceries, where to go, talk to people, because there's so many people in that country that don't speak a word of English.
Right.
But
getting you to practice on time, getting you to the bird, just everything.
Yeah, it's a full-time job. It's kind of crazy because you understand what these like big swinging dicks in the finance world and whatever, they have these personal drivers that need their boss's daily schedule on what they're doing. And as a hockey player, our schedules are pretty simple, but they got to get you. They got to be, what time am I picking you up tomorrow? What time am I dropping you off? What time's your game? Pregame nap? What are you gonna do for food? You want me to pick up dinner? You want to go grocery shopping? So it's like a full-time gig for them. And again, they work their asses off. And my driver was a great friend and an unbelievable guy. So I lucked out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Ken, this is the off-season edition over here at Live in 5. Jay Swish, Kenny Agostino chopping it up. Always brought to you by Butter Golf and Mini Movers. Ken, wanted to get into just some of the times we've spent together. We played together in Chicago. You won the MVP that year. Then we went over to the Jaw of Toronto, and we went into the King Street Battle, the East-West Beer Pong League. But before we get into that, I wanted to get into something more serious, and just in terms of, you were able to play, I think it was 86, maybe 90 NHL games. But for the people that don't know or unfamiliar with your game, Ken, I mean, you were an AHL MVP. You were always a point per game player. You had a great career at Yale. You actually knocked us out in 2012, 2013 to win the national championship in a quarterfinal or semifinal game. It was a quarterfinal game in Grand Rapids. Ultimately took the screws to us. But just like, why do you think a guy like you was never able to maybe carve out 300, 400, 500 games in the league? Because to me, as a good friend and people even that know your game, Ken, you can play anywhere from line 1 to 4. Was it just a matter of fit? Did the executives not like the way your flop was hanging down on your skates? Like, what was it, Ken? Like, because you can still play, but I'm just saying, like, going back to that year in Chicago, you were the best player in the league, and I think you got like 7 games in St. Louis that year. So does it make sense now why maybe you didn't play as many games as you liked, or you're just grateful for the opportunity you got?
I mean, I'm grateful. Like, I'm sure you are for every game we play in the national, but like, I don't know. It's not a bitter answer because it's just the truth. And I think if I knew now, then I'd say it. And if I knew at the time, I'd fix it to
right.
make myself more, desirable. But it's kind of a shitty answer, but I just feel like you've been through it. Like you kind of need. There's so many guys I think that can play in the NHL that are good AHL players, good European players. You kind of just need a little bit of. If you're not a marquee prospect for that team at the time, you need a little bit of luck, and you need some things to go your way. You know, I think I got to see it both sides of it where I felt like for years, like you said, I was kind of doing my thing in the A, and I get an opportunity, and I thought I had a game that, you know, like other than some other smaller skill guys in the A that kind of are one-dimensional. I thought I kind of had a heavier game where I could play a bottom six, which is what I mostly played in the NHL. But I just can never stick. And, you know, year after year, you think you do the same thing. You want another shake. And then I finally got one with Laval. I played the same way I thought I always played and really committed like a bottom six style when I got the chance to get called up. And I kind of stuck. And I had a coach up there, Julian, that liked me for a bit, and then ran that out, and then was able to get picked up by New Jersey after I kind of had a decent runway to show that I could play in this league. And then I signed to Toronto, and I saw 4 minutes of NHL time the rest of my career, which just shows how it goes. Because I thought I thought I was a really effective AHL player in Toronto too. Nothing really changed in my game, so it just shows. I just think circumstances. You need a little bit of luck, right? You need a bounce, and sometimes you just don't get them. So that's the best way I can answer it.
Right, and then that's where we rekindled was at the hockey academy over there in Toronto, where you'd be doing about 14 different practices a day, and a very fashion-forward organization. Not, you know, ragging on them, but they are, and a couple old school guys, I would say we are over here. But do you remember that payroll we had on that Toronto team that year? Like, oh my God, I think we were actually had more money on the books than a team like the Arizona Coyotes, if you don't count the LTIR money they were paying like Weber, Datsyuk, Kosa, because I think we at some point that season in the stands we had about $10 million.
Dude, we had easily, I think, the most expensive AHL salary cap or roster I've ever seen in hockey. And yeah, like we would always joke, I feel like all the older guys that year were just fucking cattle down here, which again, no shade to them. They're very progressive, and they had a philosophy where they're just going to stack good veteran AHLers and throw money at them for doomsday scenarios. But as it was no regard for us as players at all, because on any given night we had 4 or 5 one-ways in the stands, not because guys weren't playing well, just because we couldn't put them in the lineup because of the vet rule.
It was insane. That, I mean, our team, if we actually were able to play our whole roster, which we were doing at the start of the year, we would have had a complete wagon of a team. We had to play the 4th round pick that might be good in 7 years over a guy like, you know, say like one of us. And we're like sitting there, we're like 27 or 28 years old. I'm like, fella, like, you know, I got 8 points in 12 games right now. I'm snapping it pretty good. You know?
What are we doing here? It was just like it was the epitome of like trying to reinvent the wheel, I think. And don't get me wrong, listen, if you're a young pro, they were so progressive, and again, every resource, but like you said, for a couple 27, 28-year-old pros, like I don't maybe need 3 skill sessions in January before, you know, a Tuesday practice. Maybe, you know, you want to give me a little extra work or talk to me about something, sure. But they would just, it was like summer camp before every practice. So in that regard, it was different, but fuck, we had a fun time. We had an awesome group of older guys. We had a lot of guys that like to go out and have a good time. And that was the birth of the Wednesday night rivalry, the night you love the hate, east side of King Street versus west side of King Street.
Put on your wig and march your ass either east or west on King Street, because we're playing a matinee, and it's going to be the night you love to hate. NBC Sports rivalry night, Wednesday. Get out of practice, go right to the beer pong table, and duke it out as a couple middle-aged assholes playing a one-on-one best of 7 beer pong series. Kenny, I always tell you this. I tell my buddies that I do play one-on-one with. There's probably, well, I can count the amount of guys on 2 fingers, how many I would go one-on-one against. I'm talking about chin on chin, looking at each other across from the 8-foot table and saying, motherfucker, I love you, but right now it is on, and we are playing official rules, which is 3 beers a game. And if this goes to OT, it's one beer. Or you could be walking out of those, say if it goes 6 or 7. You know, I'm not a math guy, but folks, you can do the math yourself. And there's just something about going one-on-one, duking it out with your best buddy, playing one-on-one beer pong. I mean, there's nothing better.
Dude, there's nothing better. You said it best, man. It's the simplest form of just 2 boys hanging, having a good time, shooting the shit, playing music, and it's shoot or shoot. You know, we're playing for keeps. We're playing to win. So it's got the competitive juices you need, but on a Wednesday afternoon in the dark days of February in the jungle, just playing best of 7 with your boy on King Street. There's nothing better. Playing like just shooting the shit, laughing.
And at that point, Kenny, it's more about mental health than anything too, right?
Yeah.
Because you're taking care of your mentals, you're getting away from the game. Usually a lot of the times we have buddies come over after the best of 7, and whether we were able to stand up straight or we just go get something to eat, but that was always the best thing because number one, we played the way we played, no bounce. This is a shooter's game. Like, have some goddamn respect for one of your best friends. And how funny was it at the time, too? Because you were unrestricted in terms of you didn't have a gal or anything. I had a roommate at the time. So when we play at my barn, it would just be us two just cockeyed on the couch. And she would be sitting there just looking at us like, you guys are fucking idiots. And I'm like, I know that, but this is what we do.
So funny. It's just like, you and me one-on-one in an arena, like, fucking around, but like serious at the same time. It's like we had one spectator in an empty barn, just like watching these two middle-aged assholes go at it for 2.5 hours.
We would have the volume on that Sonos at fucking 100, and those matches, man. I mean, you're playing a best of 7, like you got to let the guy, especially if you're going balls back on your buddy, like, and he's drinking a half a cup at each time. It's like, all right, man, like you got to let him choke it down because he doesn't have a partner. And this could be game 4 at this point. You don't want him to puke or shit his pants. So it's like, you got to wait. So what I'm saying is these games would get pretty long and they'd be,
so long.
2.5 hour matches. And you're walking out of it like, holy shit, where are we going? Are we going to Wilbur or Kelly Love? Or are we just going to shut it down and just piss ourselves? What's going on?
The drunk stumbles to Wilbur on a Wednesday at about 6:30. We're so funny. People will be getting off work, just picking up their dinner. And they got these two fucking blacked out guys on King Street.
That's the best part. We would always take a picture too after together, just like us right here. And more often than not, I would have the wig on. I would. I would have the wig on.
Yeah, Clay was always in the arena, or it could have been someone else that game. I don't know.
Dude, it was getting to full character and Clay and put the mullet wig on. I just remember when, shout out to Dazer again, your good buddy, our good buddy, who you played with at school at Yale, and he was actually living in the Rust Belt at the time in Buffalo. Shout out to Buffalo, shout out to Mother, shout out to Chippewa Street. You actually got me onto Buffalo, but what I'm saying is remember when he came to visit you one time, and I was like, I don't know. I think I had to go meet up with an agent. Maybe I was -3 that night. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to the bars, boys. I might go shut it down. And I think I gave you a text. He said, well, we're shooting. I'm like, well, are we playing one-on-one? Yeah, we'll play one-on-one. So we played like a 3-man, 3-ball one-on-one game. It was like just unbelievable.
Robin series. It was
and Dazer was actually so pure that night. He ended up beating the shit out of me, and I was pissed. I was like, fuck, he's shooting. He was wet that night.
Comes north of the border just to give me an ass kicking in my own city. That was I think that was the first time you guys met. Like, you guys met unofficially or online through. You guys had a bunch of mutual buddies, obviously, including me. But I think that was one of the best, like the purest, like first meetings ever. It was just strictly, I'll see you on the fucking table, buddy. I'll shake your hand after.
Yeah, I'll see you on the fucking table, and I'm gonna be Clay tonight. You don't even know who I am. So you haven't met Swish yet. You met Clay.
Right, first time meeting Dazer. You're full character, shades on, wig on. Let's fucking talk after, buddy. Shoot him. Your ball.
Oh my god, I used to wear that thing everywhere. Well, I still do. As many things change, a lot of the things they stay the same. I remember that Gracie O'Malley's was a great bar there too, where we would always go play darts because they had metal tip, and the odd day after practice where I was probably scratched again, I would be like, Ken, can we just go play darts? I'm gonna put the wig on, the fast shades, and let's just throw, man. Let's just,
Let's chuck. Yeah,
we don't have to have too many beers, but let's just throw some darts. So that's the best part of the game there, brother. But Ken, I wanted to get into, just because it is the off-season edition over here at Hockey Night in Scottsdale. I got back from your neck of the woods on the East Coast. I was over at the chin of Coney Island at the Nathan's hot dog eating competition. You sent me a couple of good restaurants, my friend. What was the one spot? American Bar? That
American
was good.
Bar, yeah. Spot.
Tunes, trim, and a good, just steak. It was up the wall.
Yeah.
It was really good. But I wanted you, for people that don't know, obviously pizza, food. If you were given someone, say, going into the jaw of a place like New Haven, where Yale is centrally located, or even going into New York City, maybe give 2 spots in New Haven you'd recommend for a slice of za, and then maybe 2 in the city that you can't miss on.
Okay. I'll go 3 New Haven, 1 the city, because that's how strongly I believe the New Haven.
Wow. Okay.
Not to just piggyback off Prez, but it is the pizza capital of the world. So I'll go Sally's is the unanimous 1 seed. Shout out Stamford, Stam Vegas. They opened up another location in Stamford. So if you're living close to the city, you don't even have to go all the way up to New Haven. You can go to Stamford and get a slice of Sally's there. 2 is Frank Pepe's. That's the rivalry, but Sally's I think is better. And then 3 is Modern, really good, kind of more underrated, but still fairly rated high if you know kind of thing. Yeah. And then I think there's the city pizza scene I'm not as keen on or know as much depth, but the John's on Bleecker I feel like is a pretty famous unanimous 1 seed, and I've had it and it is really fucking good. So that'll be my city rec.
And that Modern, is it like thin and crispy, Ken? Because I'm like really picky. Is it? What's the style?
It's pretty thin and crispy. It's kind of on par with the whole New Haven style, which is that thin but crisp, like brick oven style. Yeah. But Modern is a little, maybe like if I can nitpick, like a little bit greasier than Sally's, and Frank Pepe is just so pure, dude. It's just like, and same with Sally's. It's the elite of the elite. But Modern maybe is a touch greasier, but also the vibes in Modern I think are really casual and chill, which I like. And it's a lot easier. It was a lot easier to get in because Frank and Sally's always have lines around the corner. So that was our big post-game spot when my family would come up like every weekend at Yale. So we'd go there a lot post games for some pizza.
What are you giving Frank's? What are you giving Sally's? What are you giving Modern? Like, are we talking stock 8? Are we talking stock 9? Like, what out of 10?
Yeah, I mean, they're up there. I think Prez's ratings for them are pretty spot on. I think he gave them like low 9s. Like, if those are my favorite, like I'll give Sally's a 9.7, Frank's a 9.5, Modern a 9.2, John's a 9.3.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I've had John's. A lot of people in the city, they're very high on that Prince Street pizza. I think it's okay.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had it, but I know that's a really popular one too.
Yeah, it's like lower east side, kind of Soho, 7, 7 and a hook, maybe an 8. They have like the Detroit style. It's not technically Detroit; it's a little thicker, but then they have the thin as well. I'm more of a thin guy, thin to win.
Yeah,
you know
for sure.
Yeah.
I don't like the thick. You can't move after too many of the thick ones. I like the thins that you can crush a holes out.
As a guy that tries to, control his barrel when I can, especially when I have 30 tequilas on a night, I can't be doing that with a parlay of an absolute barrel bomb of a Detroit style pan. And all of a sudden, I'm shooting up to 217 the next day. It's like, I can't do that,
Right. You got to pick what you want to put in the barrel. It's either tequila or the thin crust.
Right. Ken, 3 odd weeks left before you go overseas. We were touching about it earlier in the interview. Do you have anything planned, or is it kind of just hanging out in Naples? Maybe is the fam coming down one more time? I know you did a little bit of a European circuit about a month ago when you got engaged, my friend. But anything else on the docket in terms of, one last dance stateside, or is it pretty much just kicking your feet up, working out, skating in Naples for the time being?
Yeah, I think my parents are going to come down one more time, but nothing crazy. I think, again, last 2 weeks we're kind of just in chill mode. We'll see some of her family, hopefully some of mine, and just maybe go to the beach a couple more times and start to get ready. This is our first time coming overseas, so just a lot of stuff we gotta mentally and pack for and get ready. So just kind of hanging for 2 more weeks and skating.
What I always say, Ken, too, is one of my travel tips is, and I think I learned this actually from my dad, was like, just make sure you got your bare essentials, your favorite shit, and then everything else you can just fucking buy. Like I can just buy it over there and I can fucking leave it over there. Like you don't need your Tempur-Pedic pillow. Like I can just go get something else, or what I mean? Right. Like just grab whatever you need to keep it up the wall. And then you know that as a veteran going over there. But any golf rounds, fella, coming up? Or you just pretty much are you low and slow with it, choke and poke, spray and pray, or is it just maybe 1 or 2 left, or what?
Maybe 1 or 2 left. I do late June. I do every year. I do this 3-day member guest with the old man in Jersey, my dad, who I'm pretty close with, which was a lot of fun. We actually won our flight this year, which was fun. But that was a lot of golf. That was like 6-7 rounds in 3 days. I don't know if you've ever done those 3-dayers. It's a shit ton of golf. So that kind of gave me my fix. Maybe I'll get 1 more round in, but especially when I start skating a lot, like I don't even enjoy it as much when I'm so tired, from working out and skating. Like I don't want to be in pain when I'm swinging out there. So the sticks are virtually put away.
I mean, speaking of pain, brother, I don't know about you. I don't know if you've ever done this looper shit. We're in the middle of a 2-day tournament right now. We were chatting a little bit before with the Wisconsin State Amateur, and I'm on the bag this year. And holy fuck, the lower L5 lumbar spine tight. My right hip, I don't think I could get it through anything right now. I think my growing stiff, my neck, hurts. Like, I don't know if I got to call my muscle relaxer guy or get some sort of pool workout in me or a cold tub, because I don't know. And if we make this cut tomorrow, I'm going to need something. It's going to be a little bit more than, 1,500 milligrams of ibuprofen, because it's it's a grind. You got to give it to a guy like Fluff, man, who's like 80 years old, still in the bag out there. I mean, I guess your body does get used to it, but I think looping might be harder than fucking playing.
It's such a grind, dude. I think 100% it is. I mean, like we talked about, our good buddy Gazer, he introduced me to the whole life of looping, because when we first lived together outside of college, he was looping two a day. Every day I'd work out and I'd scoop him from the course and drop him off and scoop him, and he was fucking bagged, man. It's such a grind. So yeah, shout out loopers. Nothing but respect. Was
he bootstrapping at 36 most days?
A lot of days, yeah. So we were living in Stammer, and I was just working out. And the first year, he actually had one more year left at school, which was sick. That he just came to live in Stammer with me for the summer, and then he would do usually two loops a day at this Greenwich Country Club, and he was gassed, making good money. But you fucking earn it out there, man.
I have a true appreciation for not only the PGA Tour guys, but the guys grinding at these resorts, say like a Whistling Straits, where you're double sacking it and carrying 2 bags for 36 holes. It's like, and those guys usually tie it on at night too. You know what I mean? They're getting hammered that night too. And then they wake up, they go, doses and mimosas, and they're right back on the bag. And you're doing 40,000, 50,000 steps, especially if you're playing army golf like the way I am. I mean, I'm making that fucking guy work.
Yeah, those guys burn the candle on both ends, and
they do.
I feel like, especially at those nice courses, and like I remember when we did Bandon a few years ago, those guys are so dialed too. Like, there is like, they make you feel like a pro, which is kind of part of the experience you want when you go to these nice courses like that. So not only are they grinding physically, but they're watching your game. They're figuring out like your yardage as a player. It's pretty cool. I'll never forget that in Bandon. Like, our looper was amazing, and for 4 days he almost makes you feel like a pro, even though I'm a fucking generous 8 handicap. Right.
I'm a stock 8. I'm gonna go shoot 92 today because I was up till 4 in the morning. But thank you. I appreciate that every yardage to down to the number, my friend.
Right. It's like they know when you're gonna dump it to. Hit this 8, you're gonna chunk a 7 right now. So hit an 8. Fucking lay off of it.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, it is fun though. I really do enjoy it. Like, especially just like talking to your guy, pumping him up. Like, you're all right. You're almost like you're a guidance counselor. You're a bathroom attendant in terms of you got to have all the supplies, and then you are ultimately, giving numbers out at the same time. So you're basically a goddamn, all-in-one, man. It's a taxi driver. Yeah, you are. You really are.
You're everything they need you to be, which is why it's such a hard job.
Yeah, and I was, I didn't have the pine tar yesterday when we were playing, so I was like, fuck, I got to go to Home Depot and I'll go get some for my boy, right? You got to put on a little on top of the hat like you're playing for the Boston Red Sox, and then put it on the wrench and go down and get it, especially on those hot days out there when you're sweating, you could lose that wrench, right? Ken, we can do this
farther than the ball.
100%. We could do this all day, my friend. I just want to appreciate you for popping on live in 5 this week, chopping it up with your boy Swishy. Man, we'll have to have you on mid-season and just chop it up in terms of, how it's going over there and whatnot, and get you back on when Ozzo's on. But that was awesome, dude.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much. I always love talking to you. So anytime you want me on, I'm here, buddy.
Yeah, well, we'll get you on mid-season, see how it's going, see how Oktoberfest went, eh? Fuck, maybe just keep it under 15 days, right? Oh, you know what I mean? That could get away from you. Were you there last year when Oktoberfest was going, or was it winding down?
It was going, but how it works is it's pretty cool by the league that pretty much if you're a team in the Munich area, which we are this year, from what I've understood from talking to players, like teams will kind of work the schedule around to give the boys a day off for October. It's such a part of the culture. So I didn't get to experience it last year because we were so up north. But this year we definitely will be going. So I'm fired up.
Yeah, that's going to be where's it like centrally based? I mean, obviously the little towns around Bavaria have their own Oktoberfest, but is the big one in Munich?
Munich is the big one. I think there's 2 or 3 of the famous tents that you see, on Instagram or whatever. And that's like a 35-minute train, I think, from where we are. So it'll be easy to get in, and I'm pretty excited. It's a real cool culture identity of Germany, so it'll be cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you hear about a team, a US-based team similar to Beerfest needing a David Ayers like emergency backup, well, hit the Swishy hotline, because I'll be in there in a jumpsuit in no time, wearing the US patriotic flag and getting going in whatever games we need, because that movie's all time. Just speaking of good movies,
so good.
So so good. But all right, Ken, we'll let you go. I'm gonna go to dinner. You do the same. I appreciate you stopping on again, my friend. This is great.
All right, buddy. Thanks again. Get some rest. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Folks, that was Kenny Agostino, 11-year pro, going to be playing in the DEL this year. Thanks for stopping by, fella.